Alright. Welcome to Sideboard MTG. My name's Eric, and we've got another Devs deck for you guys tonight. This is a mono green Song of Freylease deck. Kind of reminiscent of Elf Ball, but we're going to turn everything into a Land of War Elf for Birds of Paradise with Song of Freylease, and that's kind of the game plan. I hope you guys like tonight's deck. If you do, give it that thumbs up, let everyone else get a chance to see it. And if you like the content in general and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I know a lot of people don't subscribe, so I, behoove you to log in to your Gmail account on YouTube and click that subscribe button. All right, so let's get started. I guess I should say that this video is brought to you by manatraders. They're cheap and easy to use rental service for Magic Online and Magic the Gathering in paper. So if you guys want to use that, there's a link in the description box below, along with a coupon code Sideboard MTG Blue. Will save you 15% on your first 3 months when you sign up. Pretty good coupon code, pretty good service, allows you to play all the Magic, be a better Magic the Gathering player. Alright, so what's up, everyone? We ran into some problems today. YouTube ingest servers, and I guess a lot of you probably already know about that. Even Desolator canceled his stream because of it. YouTube ingest servers have been on the fritz all day. I tried to come up earlier and I couldn't even update the thumbnail, so I was just kind of stuck doing just playing around with this deck a little bit. I did go ahead and get some test games in with the deck, so I've kind of got an idea already about what we just about have to mulligan down to, and I've also kind of got an idea of what I think about the deck. Personally, I think the deck needs maybe 2 more lands. Other than that, though, the deck had some extremely explosive turns. Song of Freylease works absolutely wonderful to help you just dump your hand, and we've got a ton of really good cards that help out with that. Once you get up to Beast Whisperer status and you start casting creature spells, you're just going to keep drawing cards, which is going to allow you to cast more creature spells, and you're just going to kind of do that Elf Ball thing where you just kind of go ham. And that's kind of the plan here. Now, I will say that if you go check out Dev's Deck Tech, and that's right up here if you guys want to check that out, just click that little I and it'll give you a link over to Dev's. That's the card that I think actually should be 2 lands. The 2 Jungle Delvers should probably be 2 more Forest, just to smooth out the deck. The deck's running on 20 Forest, and that's it. That's the entire deck. Granted, the converted mana cost of the deck for the most part's pretty low to the ground, but in the games that I was playing around with in practice, it seems if we didn't hit a Verdant Force or a Tindershoot Dryad, which is actually a little bit mana hungry. I mean, you're trying to hit this on turn, 4 or 5 or something like that. Hitting a Verdant Force on 4 or 5 is not out of the question when you have a Song of Freylease down. But if you don't have a Song down, you're really not doing a lot with any of these creatures. There's no Lords here, nothing like that. Which is kind of what makes Elf Ball work, is because there's a ton of Lords and things like that to help boost up the power and toughness of your creatures. However, you just don't have that here unless you can get to your Tindershoot Dryad, and then you kind of have your Saproling Lord going on. But for the most part, I think that the deck's actually a little bit more mana hungry than it appears to be at first glance. Now, if you do watch Dev's Deck Tech, he said, if you wanted to get Verdant Forest, you should go back and get the Tempest versions because he liked the art. So I did that. So Dev, if you're watching, I got you your Tempest Verdant Forces here, buddy. I think that's Tempest, right? The little cloud with the lightning bolt coming out of it. That's Tempest, right? Alright. 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 I'm feel like a fool if this is not Tempest. Anyway, the deck's pretty straightforward. We want to cast cards like Land of War Elf and Druid of the Cow early in the game. We want to get a little bit of a board presence set up, and then like hit like a turn 3 or 4 Song of Freyalise. You don't want to actually play Song of Freyalise until you have a couple creatures on the battlefield, and that's kind of the plan, but you do want to see Song in your opening hand. It felt like games that I had Song were just absolutely better than games when I didn't have Song. So I definitely think that if you're going to be playing this deck, you're going to be toying around with these Songs of Freyalise decks, whatever build you're putting behind it. You want to have some way to create a board presence, but you also want this card. So mulliganing to this card may be a thing. So let me get chat up here where I can talk to you guys. In the sideboard, he's got some really straightforward plans. You know, Crawl Harpooner to be able to deal with anything flying, Crushing Canopy for enchantments and flying, Vine Mare for those black decks, and even when you just need to have a bigger body trying to get through. And then Crawl Forgers. This card's actually a lot better than I originally gave it credit for. I ended up bringing this in a couple times just because I needed another big body, and because it's a 4/4. It actually works really good with the main board Pelt Collectors. Same can be said for Vine Mare. It's one of the few ways that you have to actually get Pelt Collector, to grow a little bit in this deck. Most of the time, Pelt Collector is not going to grow very, very large, and that's mainly because everything in the deck's really small. I personally think that Jungle Delver, the other one drop here, probably just doesn't belong. Maybe you just cut one Pelt Collector, one Jungle Delver if you really wanted to have a Jungle Delver in the deck as that late game mana sink or something, but I just don't really see it. I don't think that it's 100% necessary. The real plan here is to go very wide, have Song of Freyalise hit its third saga or its third chapter, and then just kind of go ham from there. Once everything's got Vigilance and Trample, and Indestructible, you just get to swing in and do some mean things. So that's kind of the game plan here, and that's what we're going to do. So let me get chat up. We'll give some of you guys a yell, and we'll go from there. Aaron, what's up? No, that's Arnon. You don't have Reddit, but you would like to see my deck list somehow. Well, I'll tell you what, Arnon, if you do stick around after stream, I had plans of pulling up the Reddit towards the end of the stream here, and we're going to go over some decks and stuff like that. I'm going to be looking at some decks that were posted this week, so if you do happen to post your deck during tonight's video, there's a chance that I might see that. So, as always, if you want to have your deck played on Subscriber Sunday, then it must be posted on the Sideboard MTG subreddit, because that's where I pull the decks from, and that's where people vote on them from. So, yeah, it's free to sign up for Reddit. So, mind if I link? No, you're good, man. Go ahead and link away. As long as it's magic related, sir. 90% magic related, right? I'll tell you what. Before we get started, are we talking about your Sultai deck? Is that what we're talking about here? Your Sultai Simic Counters deck? Because if it is, I can simplify this right here. If it's Sultai Counters or Simic Roids by Revenant Souls, aka Madness. So if you guys see Revenant Souls, that's Madness, right? Alright, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward deck. You want to put +1/+1 counters on a bunch of things, and then you want to play a Herald of Secret Streams, make all of those things unblockable, and just kind of swing in. Herald of Secret Streams, creatures with +1/+1 counters on them can't be blocked. The Hungering Hydra is the card that I was most interested in. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. It can't be blocked by more than one creature. And when Hungering Hydra is dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So if they're burn based and you can get this out, I don't know, say for 5 mana, 6 mana, it might be really, really hard for them to deal with this. Now you do have cards like Jade Light Ranger, which are self-explanatory. You can get counters on them very easily. Merfolk Branchwalker, the same thing. Pelt Collector is pretty much just going to put counters on himself as soon as you play something else. You do have Sky Raider Patrol. I'm not a really fan of this card, but I do like and see where it's coming from. Personally, I think that you could get away with just Hadana's Climb for this effect, and there are copies of Hadana's Climb in the deck. But Sky Raider Patrol, at the beginning of a combat on your turn, you may pay 1 green, 1 blue, Simic colors, and whenever you do, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control, and that creature gains flying. So not bad. I mean, being able to pop something else up into the air, that seems pretty nice. Thorn Lieutenant. Now this isn't going to do the +1/+1 counter thing, but it can give you extra bodies, and it grows into a very big creature. Once you have 6 mana to start pumping into it, giving it +4/+4 is pretty big. So Warkite Marauder, flying creature, just being able to knock other flyers out of the air so that you can get through with cards with Curious Obsessions, dive down to protect your creatures. Hadana's Climb, another way to just end the game really quickly. And then sideboard cards: Carnage Tyrant, Essence Scatter, Golgari Raiders. Golgari Raiders, Brad Nelson played this in his Golgari deck. Naturalize, and then Path to Discovery. Sentinel Totem, I don't even think you need Sentinel Totem right now. I don't even think we actually need Graveyard Hate. And then some Siren Storm Tamers. So pretty straightforward deck. Just play creatures, put +1/+1 counters on them, and roll. On turn 2, what? You was originally going for Stormfleet Aeroless, but you found that Raid Trigger is hard to achieve on turn 2. Understood. But that's the deck. We will retouch on the Reddit here in just a little while later on the Reddit. We'll retouch on that after the gameplay. I'll go back, and if you guys want to hang around after the stream, we'll pull up the Reddit list and stuff like that. We'll talk about those a little bit and kind of have a little separate stream right here. So CGB's video on the PT Grixis deck. CGB's. CGB. I'm probably going to know exactly what that is as soon as you tell me, but for some reason it is just not clicking. CGB. Well, what would I put in aside from Sentinel Totems? Sleep? I don't think you really need sleep. I mean, nobody who needs sleep. Convert, go blue. I don't know who they are, but I'm gonna have to check them out. So anyway, let's get into some gameplay, shall we? I don't think no one needs sleep. Who needs sleep? I just don't think that your deck necessarily needs sleep. Most of the time when you do need the card sleep, it's because you can't get through. So you need Venerated Loxodon and a Plains. That's it. Just 1 Plains and 4 copies of Venerated Loxodon. You got this. Alright, so let's select Deb's Mono Green Song deck. When the mana is right for it, patience. Yes, live stream, says Aiden. Yeah, I was worried we weren't going to get a live stream with the servers today, so I'm kind of happy to be here. So, what's up, MTG? Just watched Jun deck. It was crazy. Talking about the Jun Devs deck. Hey, we've got songs. We've got a couple land. Well, that's a nice fella. This could be a really good hand. I'm going to keep it. It doesn't have Land of War Elf, but, not all of your decks are going to have Land of War Elf. Okay, so this is the first place deck from the PT. Alright, well, that's going to be a pain, to say the least. We need like another 1-drop off the top. Or Saproling Migration would be awesome off the top. I wouldn't mind having Saproling Migration. Wow. Blessing of Bells and Light. Okay, this is not the PT deck. Target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's legendary, it also gains lifelink until end of turn. Wow. Hitting me for 2. Alright, well, this is going to be like the worst song ever. Do I even play this song? I think I need to play something this turn, and song will at least give me that ability. And it'll give me a lot more mana for the next turn. Now, if I only had the 1 copy of Song of Freyalise in my hand, I probably wouldn't waste it right here. But since I have a backup copy and now a tertiary copy, I think we can get away with this. So I want as many creatures on the battlefield as possible here. So I'm going to go with Yavimaya Shepherd. Now this will trigger our Pelt Collector, and it'll give us an extra body. And then we'll be able to buff all of these guys here next turn. Now, Call of the Cavalry. Wow. Alright. Opponent's got a lot of spice here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to combat. We'll attack. Wow. No fear. No fear, says the opponent. Well, we did trample over for a couple points of damage. I'm going to go ahead and play the second song. And then I'm going to play Beast Whisperer. Green. Green. And then we'll pass. Ooh, another Beast Whisperer. This will be a lot of cards. So he's going to scoop it up. All right, well, we're just going to go to another game. The opponent scooped it up, and that was that. Okay, well, not a lot I can do about that. The event has been canceled. No. I'm pretty sure I clicked that. I don't want to click it again. Yeah, there we go. How come you're always late to these? William, I'm late. I'm late to half of them, so welcome to the party. Can't wait for Simic next set. You're holding onto Branch Walkers and Jade Lights, hoping Simic is real. Well, Simic's normally about enhancing your creatures and things like that, +1/1 counters and stuff like that. Just having more mana, and like, I like Simic. I like a lot of the things that are going on, with Simic in the past. So I'm expecting some really nice Simic mechanics. Like, I think the last time I played a Simic deck in Standard, it was like Prophet of Grufix or something. So we do not have any of our really good cards here. No Song of Freyalise, but I mean, it's not horrible. We can get down, Pelt Collector and Druid of the Cowl next turn. So, I mean, that's at least something. Alright, so Pelt Collector, Druid, pass. Pass the turn. Jungle Delver. That's right, Ryan. Jungle Delver it is. Oh, Lana War Elves. Hey, now we're cooking. So the plan is to go wide and swing for all the stuff, right? So let's go Yavimaya. We'll get some triggers. Get the extra body. And then I think I just want a Druid of the Cowl here. Just adding more to the battlefield. And then, you know, we can play Song in our last card next turn. There's a Dryad Greenseeker, so I'm expecting that if I see Dryad Greenseeker and I see red mana in these decks, I start thinking about this card. I was just about to say Experimental Frenzy. I mean, he dumped his hand really, really quick. He's already got the City's Blessing. So, alright, well. I guess we just pass. I don't see any real reason to do anything else this turn. Wish I would have had a Verdant Force right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Still wouldn't have been able to cast it. But I didn't have to cast the Jungle Delver. That would have been 8. Could have cast it there. Okay, well, the opponent is... Oh, I should have put a counter on the Jungle Delver. Well, that's not the greatest thing in the world. Alright, well, we pass one more time. This time I will remember to put counters on the Jungle Delver. You hope they bring Lightning back? Oh, man. That's a hell of a card to hope for. I'm just hoping for something like Terminate, but, you know, Terminate, Dreadbore, even Rakdos Return. Oh, man, I love that card. The card was so good. Just putting a couple counters on my Delver here. All right, so we got a fairly reasonable sized Jungle Delver. We'll play our Tindershoot Dryad. Attack with all creatures. We'll see how blocks go. So he's going to block there. Some decent blocks. Okay. I mean, he should be able to just like churn through cards off the top of his deck. I am going to go ahead, tap some of these dudes. Oh no, I can't. They don't tap for mana this turn. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3 mana. I don't have 4. Alright, well, the opponent is at 6 life. We've got a fairly sizable army that is growing. So, this might work. I mean, he also may have a way to deal with Tindershoot Dryad, but if it's in his hand, he'll have to sacrifice this to be able to deal with it. And he is going to destroy the Experimental Frenzy. We make more Saprolings. He's in trouble. Banefire, 4-2. Aww. That's a mean opponent. And he scoops it up. Just Banefire for 2 and scoops. Begin sideboarding. Here we go. He just didn't have enough blockers. So, opponent still dies next turn if he doesn't have settle or some kind of wipe right. Crushing Canopy might be nice. Just to be able to deal with enchantments. I think I'll just take out Elvish Rejuvenator. Other than that, I'm not really interested in bringing anything else in. Here we go. We'll go from there. Ryan Supernova, gotta go. Catch you on the replay, Jungle Delver. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate your support there, man. I appreciate that. Okay, so moving turn 1 Jungle Delver, Saproling Migration. A lot of land in this hand. I'm gonna mulligan. Oh my goodness, mulligan to 5. Sure. Alright, Line of War Elves, go. I mean, we'll turn to, Yavimaya Shepherd, and actually, I kind of want to get my Pel Collector down before our Yavimaya Shepherd. Just to get the extra +1 with counter, but is that just being too greedy? Like, so we don't maximize our mana usage at all this turn, and then we, just to get a 2-1, or a 2-2? I don't know if that's good or bad. Although Yavimaya Shepherd, if we top deck a Song of Release, will be in a much better position. I think we're going into a much later game anyway, so I think I've got time. And this is how this is going to go down. Go wide seems better. I think I'm digging in for a little bit of a later game anyway. And if that is the case, then we're going to want the extra power and toughness. See, we still didn't have anything to play this turn, so it didn't, like, really matter. Still can't swing. Like, we pretty much just want to get to a Verdant Force. There's a Druid. I mean, these are all steps to get closer and closer to Verdant Force, so we'll pass. Like, I think that if we can get Songs of Release going and we can get wide enough, get into that situation where we get this alpha swing, we should be alright. Another Wild Growth Walker. Yeah, this is going to get very problematic. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7. Oh, just short. Just short. Top deck song, top deck song, top deck song. You willed it into being, Madness. You willed it. It's a Devs deck. We'll be alright. Right? We'll be alright. It's okay. You son of a... They come in pairs. Well, Madness said it like 3 times, so we've got to like top deck one more, right? Saves you from boredom at work. Well, I'm glad I could help, buddy. Can't stop the pain train. Oh no, he's stopping the pain train. The pain train just got stopped. This is not good. This is so not good. So we need like Tindershoot Dryad. Like, we need to just hit land now. Or elves or something. Like, just get Verdant Force out there and start. The pain train got derailed. That's an elf. Still doesn't get us there, though. This does get us to top decking a land for an out. Like, we have a, you know, if we hit a land, we can play a Verdant Force. If we can do that multiple times, and we should be alright. Hitting a land in a 20 land deck. Well, this is a good start. I mean, he does get to keep putting planes. I mean, he's getting so many planes. That enters as a 3/3, which triggered the Pelt Collector. It's pretty sweet. Now, if we hit a land, we're looking at Verdant Force just being, you know, a monster here. Oh man, the opponent's going to gain so much life. We're going to have to go so wide in this game. Nothing I can do about it. Go. Just do your thing. Did I bring Crushing Canopy in? I brought Crushing Canopy in. We might be able to get rid of this Ixalan's Binding. What? Oh. More Saprolings. I mean, this would be pretty good if we had like a Tinder Shoot or something still out. He's at 35 life though, guys. I mean, we need to hit a Crushing Canopy to destroy this song. However, if we do hit Crushing Canopy and destroy the song, that very turn we get to play a Verdant Force. So that would be a thing. Verdant Force could actually be a way for us to come out of this. Okay, well. Experimental Frenzy. Alright, here the opponent goes. Wayward Swordtooth. There it is. Verdant Force. Hey, we cast it. We got a Pelt Collector with Trample now. I still don't think we can swing in, so we're not going to be doing that. We are going to just keep making Saprolings, though. And now we're going to be making them 4 per turn after we get the second one down. Assuming he... Wow, he went ahead and destroyed his Experimental Frenzy already. I mean, I guess when you just have an abundance of wealth over there, it just doesn't matter, right? So... Oh, man. Come on, opponent. It's just nasty. Nasty. Another Experimental Frenzy. I think we just have to keep building a board state that eventually just outgrows him. I mean, I think our growth rate is larger than his. And we can always just like I don't see any trample on his side of the board, so unless he's got some way to deal with all of our little dudes, which he could have a Deafening Clarion. I'm not going to say he can't have a Deafening Clarion, but we could deck him. Card, right? It is a card. Does he get in here? I mean, he does, right? Deafening Clarion. Well, alright. Alright. Maybe I should have swung there. But then he might put like this and both of these in front of a Verdant Force. And I think one of the easiest ways for us to lose right now is to lose our Verdant Force. So, alright, that's game. Can't block everything. Yeah. The second Deafening Clarion got us. Not a lot we could do about it. Not a lot we could do about it. Okay, so out with the Jungle Delver. And maybe I just keep Jungle Delver. Sure. There's just nothing else to bring in, right? Just came here. How we going? We're going. I mean, we're going. You think I want Forgers here? Really? Just a 4/4 for 5? Or do we expect for them to throw a bunch in the graveyard? Like, I think he's more likely to gain a bunch of life than he is to like kill us quickly. But maybe, yeah. If I wanted anything, it's actually Elvis Rejuvenator back. I'll bring in 2 more Rejuvenators. Submit like that. I actually like Crawl Harpooner. It's not a bad card. You didn't make it, just adjusted a list you found, tinkered with the sideboard, and added Dark Dweller Oracle? I gotta go back and read. What are you talking about? Boros Frenzy list. Okay. You think the life gain helps us? Maybe. Okay. Great hand. These are all good things. And to be able to reliably count on getting that second land in a 20 land deck, I can't count on it. I just cannot count on it. And there it was, right? There it was. Now we need to hit land into Song of Freyalise, and then him not have a way to deal with it. So I think I'm gonna do the Pelt Collector Saproling migration this turn, and then bring in the Yavimaya Shepherd next turn, and then go from there. So we'll see what happens. Wild Growth, Shepherd. I could start doing chip damage, but I would be losing bodies. Although we know he's just going to Deafening Clarion at some point, and it's going to get out of hand. Wayward Swordtooth. He's got another land to play. Alright, so let's see if we can thin the deck a little bit. Hit maybe another land. Oh, there was a song. Yeah, I think I'm willing to lose a Saproling here. mean, we've got extra Saprolings coming, and Sean pledging to Patreon. Thank you very much for your support on Patreon. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope you, well, apparently you do like the content, so I hope you continue to like the content, sir. Okay, now what do we do? Play more shepherds. Get more Saprolings. Go to combat. Swing. Like, are we just trying to get in here? Just the chip damage from hell. I don't think we win this fight. Yeah, I just don't think we win this fight. Like, maybe I shouldn't have swung with Pel Collector there, but the fact that my hand's empty now and where there's no way to continue drawing cards, yeah, I think you kind of got a mulligan to, you know, yeah, good GG opponent. GG. He's swinging for 8 per turn. That's game. I mean, just having a board wipe period is just game. So, yeah. Watch it every night, my friend. Thank you. Well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate it, man. Happy to be here, boys. All right, let's play another game. We'll get into our third game here, and then we'll jump over to Reddit and do some Redditing. What's up, Randolph? Mr. Graybeard, William, Tier 1 Jank, Spork Round Thallid sounds good. Oh, wait. Oh, my goodness. Oh, this is like, you want this in your opening hand, you want this in your opening hand, you want 1 or 2 of these. The problem is, what do you do with these other 3? I think the hand's too good to not keep, and we just got to pray that we draw stuff. So. Oh, okay. Well. Sure. Shouldn't have kept this hand. I should not have kept this hand. Yeah, I should have pitched it. Ooh. He might have kept a 1-lander. Well, we don't have to worry about Merfolk Trickster here, so we can get in for one. Ooh, matching the tempo. Well, we've got 25% of our lands in our hand. What's the odds we draw more? Well, with MTGO, buddy. We can get in for one with a Druidic Owl. If we play 2, do they tap for double mana? No, they don't. They don't. That's not how that works. Yep. He's thinking about playing that Merfolk Trickster, but he was also wanting to get that Land of Werewolves from us. So that land draw on the song ending timed perfectly. And it happens. Sometimes the music just lines up. There's the Trickster. Kind of knew that was coming. He could have flashed this in, blocked the 1 point of damage, and tap that down, so... This ain't normal, y'all. Does he counter it? Paid all 3 mana to... It's okay. He's tapped all 3. Click, 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 click. Gotta stop it. I gotta stop the song. No more lands, no more lands, no more lands. Is that your new chant? You just chant it 3 times and it will be. Tempest Djinn. Yay! Just what I've always wanted. Good old Tempest Djinn. Well, we get in for 2. Just imagine if like 3 of these lands were spells. So, with Song of Freyalise, you actually get to, until your next turn, creatures you control gain, tap, add 1 mana of any color. It should be until your next turn, those creatures gain Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. That should be a until your next turn as well. I think that would just, you know, that would be good. This way they can, like, it gives you a full turn of where they can attack and block. Oh my goodness, we need, like, all the things ever. You guys may say that I'm getting into some early scoops here, but it's double Djinn. It's Djinn. Oh, Djinn. Alright, so I don't think we're going to be doing a Verdant Force against this deck. Crushing Canopy, probably pretty good, but it's really, really slow at killing. But you could always target the enchantment. So we need to get rid of 5 cards here after Verdant Force. Let's keep Elvish Rejuvenator. I actually want to take like pretty much everything out of the top end, but I do like the idea that we're taking out some 3 drops and some 8 drops to bring in 2 drops and 3 drops. So where you heading now, Lana War Elf? It's not a bad hand though. I'll keep it. We may actually have to do an early crawl, because we can't actually play this song till much later, and honestly, I don't think that we're gonna get very far. You said it well, Randolph. You said it well. Like, I hate it, but that's the way it works. Hey, our opponent's mulliganing down to 5. Unfortunately, I just don't think that this this deck has either the land or the like. I think if you want to play this style of deck, you should just play Elf Ball. Like, if this is what you want to play, just play Elf Ball instead. That being said, you know, Elf Ball could actually get away with Song of Freyalise. I mean, the deck's not horrible. Alright, so let's get some bodies down. Not casting anything till turn 3 while he's sculpting his hand. Doesn't sound really great to me, but we did squeeze this in, so if he wants to play something, then we might be able to get away with something here. So we'll make him try to counter the Crawl Harpooner, and then we'll sneak in the Song of Freyalise. So if he wants to counter the Crawl Harpooner, then there we go. Alright. Song. Boom. Got there. He doesn't block. If he would have snapped off that block, I would have been like, uh-oh, he's got a Djinn in hand. Alright, so dive down. A lot of things could actually protect this. Man, does that mean he has no other threats? I mean, you rarely try to put anything. You just don't want to put anything on a Siren Storm Tamer. All right, so we get to try twice here. We'll try for the Crawl Harpooner and see if we can just kill it. And then if we can't, oh, we got it. Unless he's got a dive down. Does he have 2? I could have just went for the enchantment here. He scoops! Yes! Alright. Alright. That worked. That worked. Do we do anything different on the draw? Submit deck. Alright, run it back. You almost added right a Bells Unlock just for more Blood Crazed counters. Like Blood Crazed Paladin counters? If mono green, you would auto-play Land of War and Steel Leaf. Well, see, both of those are actually in the Elf Ball deck. I've never gotten around to playing Elf Ball, but probably should at some point. No Song of Freylease in this hand, but the hand itself looks fairly decent. And we're going to get this Land of War Elf down. We even hit a second land, which is pretty sweet. And we're just going to go for value here. We'll be able to go, Pelt Collector, Druid of the Cowl next turn. I assume he's digging for a Curious Obsession. Scoop emoji, please. Well, I'll tell you what. The next emoji we get, and I think we're only like 5 more subscribers away from getting another emoji. I'll make a scoop emoji. Yeah, we'll have a Sideboard MTG scoop. I think I actually got to play a Crawl Harpooner here, which is actually really, really good. Works really well with Pelt Collector. So we can Pelt Collector. Harpooner. Harpooner fights the Siren Storm Tamer. Like one of the few times you'll ever fight anything with a Crawl Harpooner and it lives. This thing just dies to everything. But we actually got a little bit of growth out of that turn, and we got to keep our Harpooner, which is extremely rare. Is a scoop emoji like an ice cream scoop? Basically, I guess it would be an ice cream scoop. I don't know. I don't know what else could a scoop emoji be? Scoop it up. I mean, I just don't know. Uh-oh. Alright, well, we can go for the go wide. Oops, wrong one. We can go for the go wide plan here. I mean, we've got one creature with reach, so we can block for a little bit, so. Volta. Work well with Volta. What? I don't know what he's saying. Oh my god, Galta. Does he have another Djinn? Gee. I guess he can just counter this, right? Or Merfolk Trickster. I mean, if he counters Tender Shoot, then he counters Tender Shoot. So we're taking 4 next turn. We're doing 5 this turn. So we're catching up a little bit. I feel like he's got another Tempest Djinn, though. Opt. Uh-oh. Does he have another land? He did have another land. Okay, so Wizard's Retort is still on the table for the opponent here. I want to make him cast it, so I'm going to do this before combat. I'm leaving up the Druid of the Cowl as the one that I want to swing with. Yeah, there's the Trickster. That's kind of what I was expecting. Wow. He's going to tap that down. So does he block Pelt Collector here? Or does he just take the damage? He could just take the damage. Really wish he would just block Crawl Harpooner. Although we may just be dead if he does that. Yeah. Alright, so he blocks Pelt Collector. Pelt Collector is a really good card. A Spoon of Salt. That's pretty good. A scoop filled with salt. There you go. Yeah. Spoon it up. Just spoon it up. Oh no, we're taking 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright. Don't have another blocker. Just don't have one opponent. No blocker. No blocker. No whammies. No whammies. Just don't be Exclusion Mage. Don't play Exclusion Mage and bounce my Tendershoot Dryad. Just don't do it. I don't think he's got it. I think if he had it, we'd already seen it. Okay. So, we're looking at 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not lethal, so we don't have to go all in on this. We just need to get him closer. Closer to lethal. We're so close to dead. If he's got Merfolk Trickster in hand, which would be the only reason to really pause at this stage of the game, if he's got Merfolk Trickster in hand, his best bet is to tap down Harpooner at the end of my turn, because I can't swing with it this turn. This is just more bodies. I need 6. Yeah, that'll work. We're just going to swing like this. We'll see how he blocks. He just takes the damage. We'll cast Saproling Migration with Kicker. I mean, it's a bunch of bodies. But, again, if he's got any way to deal with this Harpooner, then we're just dead. So... good old reach. When he lives, he has reach, and he can block. I don't know why everybody forgets about that. Watch our opponent scoop right here. He's going to scoop because he didn't realize we had reach. Alright. I mean, we've got 7 3/3 bodies on the battlefield, so... Yeah, Rocker, the only thing I was worried about was... Oh, the opponent said it. He actually said it. He goes... He goes, that was a punt. I didn't realize it had reach, or I would have trickstered before combat. GG. Yeah, just underlying little thing there. Yeah. Crawl, harpooner, crawl. Am I saying that even remotely close? Probably not. We're going to stick with it. Whatever. Crawl, harpooner. Getting there against the mono blue deck. That's pretty sweet. That was such a wizard. Alright. Hey, it's the thing, man. No one knows. Right. Well, that's Deb's deck. My opinion, drop the Jungle Delvers. Throw you 2 more lands in. Yeah, I know we had some draws there where we just drew land after land after land. But I'm telling you guys that was not the case in my testing beforehand. I just couldn't get enough land. I couldn't reliably keep 1 land hands unless they had the Land of War Elf in it. And then if they kill your Land of War Elf, you're pretty much just dead anyway. So you know, that was my takeaway on the deck. I just think that the deck needs like 1, maybe 2 more lands to be smooth. Spore Crown Thallid. Is it 2 L's in Thallid? It is, isn't it? Spore Crown Thallid. Each other creature you control that's a fungus or a saprling, or sporling, saprling, gets +1/+1. Man, I had some people like, oh man, I caught so much hell one time because I played the saprling deck. I kept calling them Sporlings. Oh my god, people just went nuts. Oh. Had the stream up on the TV this time. Why don't I always do this? So cool watching on the big screen. Well, that's what Justin Clay does. Like he's like, can't talk, got you on the big screen. I used to do that. I would watch videos on the, or watch live streams, like watch it on the TV but have it in my hand so they could still chat. Because like as soon as you bring up to the keyboard, like you can't see the screen at all. So you know, the deck is meh, fun kitchen table deck, but nowhere near viable anywhere else. I'm gonna say that if you want to play this strategy, this go wide, like play a ton of creature strategy, play Elf Ball. Elf Ball is actually probably maybe a tier or half a tier more competitive than this deck. I don't even know how I would tier out this deck. I mean, we just beat Mono Blue. I don't know. I mean, the deck's got some merit to it. Okay, like there's definitely some merit here. Being able to just power out these things with Song of Freylease and stuff like that. Deck needs islands, but you can make any mana you want with Song of Freylease. Doesn't need islands. Golgari Saprolings. That could work. I like Pelt Collector, but I don't think he belongs in this deck. Like, I think that this deck needs something else right here in this spot. I can't stand Jungle Delver. I can't stand this card. Even though in one of the games we had Jungle Delver at a 5/5, and he technically could have been a 6/6 if I would have hadn't forgotten to make the 1 extra counter on him. It gives you something to do late game, but you know, deck needs more cowbell. Needs more cowbell. Well, thank you, Christopher. Thank you. I just always see Christopher Walken go, needs more cowbell. I have a horrible Christopher Walken impression. I don't do impressions. Yeah. Mindless Monk. Deck needs red. Experimental Frenzy. Like, is that what you would put in it? Experimental Frenzy. Like, how would that work? Song of Freylease, a ton of creatures, and Experimental Frenzy. Just start churning. Like, would that work? I don't think that you would want, like, Beast Whisperer with Experimental Frenzy, though. Like, okay, I'm going to cast this off the top. I'm going to draw that card. I'm going to cast this. I'm going to draw that card. Like, I don't know. Oh, Banefire. Oh, okay. You just get all of that mana, pump out, like, big Banefires on people. Yes, it is a budget deck. Needs Immortal Sun. Needs Immortal Sun, needs Vivian Reed. Like, if it was just going to stay in mono blue, I definitely think that there's some merit for Vivian Reed in the sideboard. I like the 4 Coral Harpooners, though. Like, it seems like it's a pretty good card. You only need, you know, one creature in the graveyard to fight Drakes. You need 2 creatures in the graveyard to fight, you know, cards like Lyra. 1 creature in the graveyard to fight Shalai. So, I mean, there's definitely some stuff you can do with Coral Harpooner. The card, I might have wrote it off a little bit too early, and I know if James Carr is here, he's going to be like, I told you this was a good card. This deck just needs to be a different deck. Oh, okay. Alright. There you go. Jack, welcome. Buddy, we're about to get into some Reddit. I'm not going to close the stream out early tonight. I wanted to get it up earlier, but I know that there's like, you know, a big late night crew, and I wanted to jump over to Reddit. It's some content I've been wanting to do for a while, so I figured I was going to start tacking it onto a stream once a week. Like, because, you know, once we're live, it's just so much easier to just stay live than to take the stream down, change everything over. So, like, once a week, we'll piddle around on the Reddit or something like that. And just kind of go from there. I mean, this deck played pretty quick, so we've still got some time left. So, let's, Madness is like, let's go! Let's get some Reddit action going here. There we go. Alright, so, what I've done here is, I do exactly like I'm going to do before I get ready to, submit or to pull the decks, right? I go ahead, I sort by top voted decks, right? And then I go sort by past week. And then whatever has the most votes, those will get played. As of right now, we've already played Fatal Sensations, Thrawn's Temporal Gateway. So, like, this was a good deck. I enjoyed that deck. So we won't be playing that one, but as of right now, we've got a Path of Metal deck coming up here from K-Dog. And then we've got Sultai Combo Bats for Sub Sunday. I have already looked at Madness's deck. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I know some of you may want to hit on it again. The deck's strategy is pretty straightforward. The idea is, you know, have creatures that either put +1/+1 counters on themselves, or you have you know, ways to put +1/+1 counters on creatures. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let me pull this up. Does that take everything off screen? No. Can we go one more? You guys be alright with that? I can't fix the border there, but like, that might be a little bit better, so you guys can read it a little bit better. Yeah, because I know that's got to be hard, because some of you guys are watching on your phones and stuff, and like, trying to read is going to be a pain. So I'll try to talk about these as much as possible here, but alright, so the idea is you have creatures with counters on them, and then you play a Herald of Secret Streams and just swing for lethal, or swing, and there's not a lot they can do about it. So, you know, most of the creatures either come with like built-in +1/+1 counters for themselves, or you can put +1/+1 counters on them with Hadana's Climb or something like Sky Raider Patrol. You know, now that I'm talking about this, Sky Raider Patrol and Hadana's Climb are pretty much your only way to put counters on something that doesn't naturally come with a counter. So that alone probably merits a little bit of usefulness for Sky Raider Patrol. It also gives you something to do with your mana in the later turns and stuff like that when you can't like maximize usage of your mana. Would this just be better as like Essence Scatter, or a little bit more you know, disruption? Like, the one thing that I'm seeing in the deck is there is absolutely no disruption main board, right? Like, the only thing you're going to disrupt main board is you're going to disrupt their ability to disrupt you with some dive downs. So I'm not like 100% on having 0 disruption in my main board. Like, even when we look at the mono white decks and stuff like that, we see Conclave, you know, Tribunal. Like, there's always some way to like stop something. Mono blue, even though you know it's got the dive downs and curious obsessions and stuff, it's got some counter spells. It's got some ways in the main board to stop some stuff. And I think that if there's anything that I would want to add to this particular deck, I would want some type of main board disruption. And I don't know exactly where that would come into play. I haven't tested enough, but maybe cut a Sky Raider Patrol, maybe even cut a Thorn Lieutenant or Warkite Marauder, running like 2 Thorn Lieutenants, 2 Warkite Marauders, 3 Sky Raider Patrols. Might give you enough, you know, room to put in some counters, or, you know, prey upon something that you can fight back with. Even River's Rebuke, if you think that you're going to be building a board state and you're not going to swing until a certain point, being able to make them like just put everything back in their hand might be worth it. Now, granted, I understand you don't plan on worrying about things because Herald of Secret Streams is going to be swinging in, which may end up meaning that you do want cards like Sleep, because you may just be swinging out and you may not be able to get lethal, and you may be dead on the backswing, but with Sleep, it might buy you some time. So maybe a couple copies of Sleep. Personally, though, I just really don't think that we have anything in the meta right now that you just need Sentinel Totem for. Even the pros have said that, you know, the way to beat Golgari is not to work on the graveyard. If you'll notice, all of the Pro Tour list and things, there were no Remorseful Clerics, there were no graveyard hate, none of that. Even though Golgari's kind of a graveyard, like it's got some recursion and stuff, you spending time or cards dealing with graveyard mechanics when there's not an actual graveyard mechanic, that's just not something that a lot of people want to do. So, like it's been pushed out of favor, if that makes any sense. So, just had to close chat. What happened? What happened? Is there a way to thumbs up a video while it's live? Yeah, it should be there. Also, if you're watching on YouTube Gaming, there should be a join button. You get the little green name tags and Sideboard MTG logo. It is a subscription to the channel. You will get access to the emojis and things, and I think we need 5 more. 5 more will get us to our next emoji, and our next emoji will be a scoop. I've been asked about a scoop a lot, so when we get there, we'll get it. I eventually see us having plenty of emojis. So, and you know, whenever you join, you can get into these emojis whenever. Do it, y'all! Poopy wants that scoop emoji. He's like, got to have this scoop. Also, when we get there, I'm probably going to change Ham back to a gas can, drawing pure gas, right? But anyway, that's Madness's deck, the Simic +1/1 counters. Now, I remember upvoting this and it going to 11, so somebody else might have downloaded, but not me. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I even commented 10 votes already, make that 11. Like, I know I did that. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, 10 votes already. Okay, we'll make it 11. So somebody downvoted or took your vote away. Anyway, let's move on to Dragon Lord's deck. This is a Sultai Bat combo deck. So let's see if we can find the combo here. We've got Stitcher Supplier. We got Glowspore Shaman. We've got Merfolk Branchwalker, Narcomoebas, Wild Growth Walker, Plague Crafter, Golgari Finebroker, World Shaper. When World Shaper attacks, you may put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. When World Shaper dies, put all land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. That might not be that bad. Muldrotha the Gravetide. Of course, you know, awesome card. Multini. Yavamaya's Avatar. Gaia's Blessing. What a thing. Being able to shuffle some cards back into your library. I wonder what we're trying to shuffle back in. Maybe we're just wanting creatures. When one or more creatures leave your graveyard, create a bat. So, alright, so this is kind of the backbone right here. When Desecrated Tomb, whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. So we can make creatures leave the graveyard by bringing them back to the battlefield with, you know, Journey to Eternity. We can bring them out of the graveyard back into our hand with a Golgari Finebroker. If we mill them with, you know, one of our Stitcher Suppliers or Glowspore Shamans, we hit a Narcomoeba, we kind of get a bat, and then we go from there, and we get our Narcomoeba, and then Path to Discovery. Every time we make a bat, it's going to explore, which could then churn us into more things and more things and more things. Mending of Dominaria. You have the first 2 chapters on Mending of Dominaria. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Like so, mill 2 might be a Narcomoeba. Trigger the bat. Get a creature back from your graveyard to your hand. Get another bat. So it could just get out of hand, and I don't see where there's like just a straight up combo. But when Gaia's Blessing is put into your graveyard from your library, so if you mill it, you're automatically going to shuffle everything back in. Chris West just subscribed. Chris, thank you very much for subscribing. You should be taking over as the stream boss any... Oh, that was a subscriber. My bad. Not a join. But thank you for subscribing anyway. It's memberships now. It's subscribers on Twitch. It's something else. But are you sold on Obsession Madness? Oh, in his deck. Yeah, I don't think that deck is where you want Obsession, because I don't know, whatever you put it on is just going to die, right? But yeah, I think the idea here is you just get out a Desecrated Tomb and then you just like make your deck go to work. Just play Magic, and you're just going to get all of these additional triggers and this additional value and stuff like that. So, new Scoops tokens and playmats available. Oh, Scoop's a bat. See, I like MTG Goldfish's thing. Like their little fish's named Scoop. Like, you know, like Big Scoops cheer, right? Anyway, Dragon Lord, I like the bat deck. Looks like we're probably going to be playing it. I'll give that an upload. Now, we've already talked about the Thrawn's Temporal Gateway. If you guys want to check that deck out, we've actually got gameplay of that. It was in the Reddit decks from this past weekend. So I'm just going to kind of move on past that. I will say that I did like the deck. You know, the Raging Dinosaurs was a lot of fun. Like this deck was really sweet. I'm assuming this is the same deck. Yeah, a Toddly Gishaft. This was the deck where someone swung at us with a Gishaft, and I was laughing because he had such a puny dinosaur in front of our Zatalpa. So that was when you can laugh at somebody swinging with Gishaft, you've done something pretty damn powerful. Alright, and that's what Zatalpa is. Getting Zatalpa down is pretty powerful. So yeah, and that's what the Thrawn Temporal Gateway deck did. It just used Thrawn's Temporal Gateway to be able to play legendary creatures and just kind of like slam them down. So it was good. Treasure map, digging through the deck, and stuff like that. We only played one game with it, but it really shined. So it was a lot of fun. Alright, moving on down. Path of Metal by K-Dog for Sub Sunday. Alright, so... Jizza Madness K-Dog. Wow, somebody gave a lot of feedback. Similar decks extensively since rotation. You love it and think metal is underrated. I'm not going to read all of this, but cheap removal replaces early creatures. 3 treasure maps, fuel card selection, and draw while entering Storm, War Boss, and Tajik flip metal. Top end includes 4 Rekindling Phoenix and 2 Aurelia. It all seems good. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what he's got in his list. Yeah, K-Dog, it's your list. Do we want accept cookies? Sure, whatever. Alright, so Aurelia, Fanatical Firebrand. Now, alright, so I guess we just kind of got to start with our enchantment here. Path of Metal. Path of Metal says when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature that doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste. So if we don't want that to happen to any of our creatures, then they need to have Haste, Vigilance, Double Strike, or First Strike. Or something like that. History of Benaya creates Vigilance creatures, so that works. You've got Aurelia will give a creature Vigilance, so you could actually cast the Path of Metal second main phase if you needed to. Now, I do need to read the second part of this. Whenever you attack with at least 2 creatures, and you only need 2, it's not like Legion's Landing where you need to have like 3 or 4 of the, or 3 of these swinging. You just need 2 creatures, one with haste, one with first strike, or a double striker and a first striker, whatever. But having first strike creatures is pretty easy. You could even like fresh-faced recruit or something like that, and that would work. So there's a ton of options here with Path of Metal. Let's see what K-Dog's using. He's got haste here on Fanatical Firebrand. Again, Aurelia can give Vigilance or Trample. Trample doesn't help. Trample's not one of the keywords we're looking for here. Knight of Grace has First Strike. Legion Warboss has Mentor, doesn't have First Strike, so it will hit this. The little goblins you get, token gains haste until end of turn, but doesn't naturally have haste. Also, that creature, oh no, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a goblin. Okay, so it doesn't enter the battlefield tapped and attacking. You actually create it and you get to swing with it. So that would actually trigger for the flip on Path of Metal. So you could turn 2 Knight of Grace, turn 3 Legion Warboss. Yeah, but where would you play the Knight of Path of Metal? So getting an early flip on Path of Metal really, really clunks up the curve, which may be why he's only running 3 copies of Path of Metal. Not a lot of point in having the other the other copies if redundancy is not a real big thing. Now the backside of Path of Metal, it will tap for 1 mana of any color, and then you can either pay red and a colorless and tap it to do 2 damage to each opponent, or you pay 1 white and 2 colorless and tap it to make your opponent sacrifice a random. That's the part I'm not huge on, but sacrifice a random creature that attacked this turn. So choose a creature at random that attacked this turn. Destroy that creature. So it does force them into attacking with more than 1 creature. As soon as they declare attacks, you can go ahead and tap this. You can see which one dies, and then you can like make blocks accordingly. If they only attack with 1 dude, then it's just guaranteed dead. So it makes sense. I really like the card. I think that the card is great. I really do. Like, Path of Metal is a really, really good card. Yes, because you're not actually targeting. You're going to choose at random. And that means you're not going to target, they're not going to target, like, the game itself is going to target the creature, so the creature will be chosen. If only 1 creature swings, then that is the only creature that attacked this turn, so alright. At random between this creature and okay, this creature. Yeah, that's how that works. Sunhome Steward. I've been looking at this card for some other reasons, but this is pretty good. Like, it seems like it fits. It seems like it's right at home here. I'm kind of surprised I don't see like Danitha, because Danitha's got a bunch of these keywords, but there's just no real reason for Danitha. So Sunhome Steward, being able to mentor some of your smaller creatures, mentoring your goblins, things like that, it's probably all you really need. I'm expecting that you can probably, if you get down like a turn 1 Rigging Runner, right, and then a turn 2 Sunhome Steward, and then turn 3 play Path of Metal, swing, flip Path of Metal. That's a turn 3 flip, and that's not hard to do. You could also like turn 1 Fanatical Firebrand, turn 2, you know, Rigging Runner or whatever. There's just a ton of things you can do there. I mean, it's going to be pretty easy. So let's check out Path to Metal that kills turn. Let's check out Path to Metal deck that kills turn 4. Well, you posted it this week, right? Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Stick around, Marcus. We'll get there. I'm hoping that everyone likes that deck. You have a version that turn 4s. Yeah, you see, you got people interested. Now, when we pull this up, are we going to find out that it actually kills on like turn 5 or 6? Or does it have a turn 4 kill in it? You might have to explain it. You might have to explain it when we get there. All in all, though, the deck, it just runs a lot of you know, creatures that have keywords in them, using them to, you know, protect themselves from Path to Metal, while also using them to flip Path to Metal. I really like the idea of Pride of Conquerors here, considering, like, you know, your Legion's War Bosses and stuff are going to make the deck go wide, so you're going to hit that Ascend. Tajik being able to protect all of your creatures. Now, this is a little key thing that a lot of people may not be, you know, hip on. Oh, man, I said that. Anyway, Tajik, Haste Mentor, but he also says prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. So, Path of Metal enters the battlefield. It's going to do 1 point of damage to each creature that doesn't have a keyword. Now, Tajik says, no, no, no. And since Tajik actually has a keyword, it's not going to happen to him either. So, as long as Tajik's on the battlefield, there's just Path of Metal does nothing to your side of the battlefield. So, we're all about jank here. This deck isn't janky enough for him. This deck's pretty straightforward. It looks very well tuned. Like, it looks like you're streamlining to be aggressive, to have good aggressive turns, and then kind of have Path to Metal in the deck, which is probably how I would prefer to play it, to be honest. You know, just alright, yeah, it's just an all-around good deck. Even if you never hit a Path to Metal, you might still just beat the snot out of your opponent, and that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. And then if you can make it work with Path to Metal, oh yeah, I'm game. In the maybe board here, Swiftblade Vindicator. Man, this card showed up in a lot of decks at the beginning of the format. I was really hoping this card would stick around, especially being paired with cards like Tajik. Personally, though, my favorite 2-drop in Path to Metal decks is the Swift. It's the Raptor. It's the 1 white, 1 red, 3/3 Raptor that has to attack or block each turn. It may not be great. But man, that card's mean. Like, it's a 3/3 for 2. I'll take it. When you're on curve, you're playing. Man, you doing, yeah, Relentless Raptor. Yeah, that little dino, man. He's relentless. He's relentless. But yeah, I like that card. However, you know, I'm a big fan of Swiftblade Vindicator too. Yeah, on the attack, the Raptor is good. Another thing I like about the Raptor is it gives you a good clear out against a lot of decks. It's like, okay, this is the card that I take out versus some decks, and that's actually something that I value a lot in my decks, is having good clear ins and outs in my my sideboard and stuff. So it's definitely something that that I like doing, is having, you know, like, look, this is just a bad card here. Let's take this out, and then we'll put in what's good, you know. So either way, on the play, I kind of like the Raptor, but I figure the Raptor will be down here in the maybe board with Swiftblade Vindicator. But yeah. Anyway, you might see it in my build. I've been asked to build a Path to Metal deck for. Oh, you got reinforcements too? Oh, sorcery, heroic reinforcements. Gotcha. I like that you only got 2 copies. I am not a fan of 3 and 4 copies of heroic reinforcements. I think it's a little too much. I think it's a little too much, like, haha, gotcha, and you got to have a heck of a board state to just alpha swing on somebody. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of heroic reinforcements, even though it can create some explosive turns. It's so explosive, and there was a couple decks in the top 8 of the Pro Tour. So I mean, we got to give it some merit there, you know. But even most of those decks were only running 3 copies. I kind of like the fact that you went to 2 here. What about your sideboard? Bounty Agent, got Vigilance. I'm on the fence about this. Yeah, you can kill Lyra, things like that. You got a 2/2. You create a board state, you flip a path to metal, you're going to kill Lyra anyway. I mean, like, they're going to be sitting there going, well, I can only swing with 1. Yeah, alright, well, I'm just dead. And that's how like Path of Metal is going to work. Like if they can't swing, then you're gonna 2 them to death. If they can swing, then you're fine. But Bounty Agent's good. I mean, it does give you a chance to be able to deal with Search for Escanta, you know, pretty much all the flip cards from that saga and stuff like that. So I mean, Bounty Agent, it works. Direfleet Daredevil, I love it. I love the card. You could probably put it in main board, and I would be like, yep, this is a good card. This is where this belongs. I think if you're planning on playing against a lot of Drake decks, this is probably one of the best cards you can have, especially if you don't have access to Lava Coil in your board or in your main board. Now, I do see that you have a couple Lava Coils here, but Direfleet Daredevil just gives you access to your opponent's Lava Coils and gives you access to your opponent's Charter Courses in that matchup. And both of those can be devastating. I mean, there's a reason there's not a lot of draw in the Boros decks, because, I mean, heaven forbid, if they could just keep drawing cards, then there'd be some problems. So, I like Direfleet Daredevil. I think he's great, and the more burn that you can add to Direfleet Daredevil, like, you can pair it with, like, shocks and lightning strikes, the more powerful it gets. But that can be said about any first striker. I just really like the fact that, you know, this this pulls Lava Coils for the Drake's deck. Fight with Fire. It's also a good card versus the Drake stack. Good card versus Lyra. I just don't really see this deck getting into a game that is so late that you're going to be casting these huge Fight with Fires, but it could happen. So, like, I mean, I wouldn't just, like, write that off, but you know, it could happen. Ixalan's Binding is just a great card. I have no problem there. Lava Coil, like, if anything, you probably don't have enough Lava Coils. Tecatli Honor Guard, I don't think you want to be caught without 4 of them. And that's just because Golgari is so devastating that if you can't deal with Golgari, then you're just dead, and they're probably going to be able to deal with one of your Tecatli Honor Guards. You're going to need a backup. Just being able to stop, like, the one thing you don't want to see this deck do is to start exploring with a Wild Growth Walker out. So, like, in the matchups where, you know, Tecatli is good, Tecatli is, like, super good. When we go look at all the decks from the Pro Tour, if they were white, there were only 2 decks, LSV's deck and the other one that actually had some red cards in it. Whatever that one was. But the other 4 Boros decks all had 4 copies of Tecatli Honor Guard. We got further down on the list, you know, you start looking at Selesnya decks, you start looking at pretty much any deck with white in it that was remotely creature-based, had 4 copies of Tecatli Honor Guard. So, even the big boys have decided that this is the way to beat the top-tier deck in the format. And just because Golgari didn't do so well at the Pro Tour, don't get it wrong, that is still your S-Class, your you know, top-tier deck in Standard. At this point, you know, I say that it's Golgari and Jeskai, and then everything else, you know, starts coming in at Tier 1, but Golgari and Jeskai are your only 2 decks that have favorable matchups versus pretty much everywhere. So, what would I say about Sky Terror, red-white for, the Menace Flying Dino? He's not bad. The problem with that, though, is Path of Metal doesn't give a damn about Menace. Like, Menace, it just doesn't do nothing. So I think that you're kind of wanting to stay on theme. I think you're kind of wanting to stay on theme for Path of Metal, but I just don't think that that Sky Terror is exactly where you want to be. I think if you wanted to get a Sky Terror or something like that in, then there's probably just like other options for 2 mana that you might want to play. Probably just more Direfleet Daredevils or something like that. So I don't know. I'm not sold on Sky Terror just because it doesn't really do anything for the deck other than give you a 2/2 flying menace creature, and I don't know. It just doesn't impress me. I'm a real big fan of the Direfleet Daredevils and the Lava Coils. I think they're really important in the meta right now. It's just Lava Coil is so good. There's so many Phoenixes floating around. A lot of people have their Phoenixes, so a lot of people at your local gaming store for F&M this weekend, they're going to be playing their Phoenixes. Phoenix is one of the best ways to beat Golgari, and if they don't have like Vraska's Contempts and things like that to beat the Phoenix, then the Phoenix just beats them. So Lava Coil is really good there, being able to kill Shalai and just a host of other, problematic creatures. So she ain't there yet. I just got her into season 2 of Your Hero. What I missed, Jeriel? Hot damn, late again. Relationships are terrible for catching live streams. What's good, everybody? Okay. Well, I mean, maybe one day she'll be able to watch with you. So yeah. Just tell my girl, like, hey, I'm watching phone, right? She's watching her phone, right? How am I feeling about the about maining a detection tower with all the hexproof aggros? Better to run over Field of Ruins or the colored Memorial Lands? So when we were running Field of Ruin, we were really worried about Search for Escanta. So Search for Escanta will win the game. Like, you just lose the game to a flip Search for Escanta in the right deck. If they are at all, even like if they're on par or ahead at all, and they flip a Search for Escanta, you're done. That game is over. The same thing can be said a lot of times about Carnage Tyrant. If they're ahead at all, you don't have the board state to be able to block, and you get into this situation where you're sticking a couple chump blockers in front of him, not even enough to stop all the damage, or you're just taking all the damage, you start getting into an unfavorable blocking situation, you're just dead. So I think they're both important, and I think that that's a call that you're going to have to make for your meta. If you think there's a lot of people playing Golgari, you think there's a lot of people that are going to have Carnage Tyrants, things like that, then yeah, pay 4 mana, remove his hexproof and cast that son of a gun down. So yeah, depending on what you're running though, you might be able to be like tier 1 jank here and run both field and tower. However, if you're not running field and tower, like if you don't have like the room in your mana base to be able to run both, then you might want to just make a judgment call. So you updated your Simic list, got some Disruption mainboard. Don't like getting rid of obsessions, but overall it may be the right decision. We'll find out though. Alright, sounds good. I'm not going to go back to the deck because there's a lot of other decks I want to continue on. But yeah, make a stand. This card's good. This card's really good. Just the fact that it gives all of your creatures indestructible is like my favorite part. Yeah, you can get in, like you can get into some crazy blocks and stuff with it. I know you wasn't expecting me to, but you know, I was just saying. I appreciate you keeping the stream updated though, letting us know. Okay, so he dropped the obsessions in the Simic deck, put in some removal. What'd you choose for removal? I think if you're in the black, detection tower is more important. Probably because like you need really cheap interaction to be able to use detection tower. So make a stand. I really like the card. I can see it being in the sideboard, but it could also be your cut. Like if you're needing to cut something, I would either cut probably make a stand or bounty agent, depending on how many Lyras are floating around in your meta. Maybe more fight with fire, but you know, that sort of thing. All right, that is K-Dog's Path to Metal deck. I'll give that an upvote. Okay, so where are we at now? Teamer Meal Repost by Rocker Alright, we can skip that. That's meal. I'm picking Rocker. I'm picking. So how is Rocker trying to mill people out? Teamer Mill 2.0. Alright, so we've got Niv Mizzet Powderoon, and we've got some Goblin Electromancers. Not even all in on it. Not really saying I need that Goblin Electromancer. Not really there. 3 Rapid Bites, 2 Spell Pierce, and 2 Essence Scatter. Pierce may end up as Prey Upon though. So I actually like 2 Spell Pierce and 2 Dive Downs together. It's just a really good way to protect your creatures. Spell Pierce protects, and it can stop, like, Spell Pierce stops History of Benalia, sir. They want to play that on turn 3. You play a 2-drop, you still got a Spell Pierce. Play a 1-drop, still got a Spell Pierce. Like, and it's Spell Pierce. I like it. Alright, so Rocker's not even all in on Goblin Electromancer. He's like, I could use the benefit of a good, but I don't care. Which makes me think that if you're going to go this route and you're not really caring about Goblin Electromancer that much, maybe he wants it for, like, do we see any? No. So Goblin Electromancer, just giving you a way to keep churning through the deck, casting more spells. Maybe instead of Goblin Electromancer, you might want to look into the Amulet. I think the Amulet's still legal, isn't it? I want to say it's still legal. I think you can play, what's the Wellspring? Oh no, what's the Amulet? Primal Wellspring. Anyway. Like, maybe you should just run the Amulet over Goblin Electromancer. It'd be a lot harder to remove, so. Anyway, Chemister's Insight, Fiery Cannonade. Fiery Cannonade's really good. Kamina's Awakening. Now, I'm kind of on the fence about Kamina's Awakening, but I've played this to some really, you know, like, good outcomes. I lost that sentence halfway through there, but I've had a lot of good results with. I've had a lot of good results with Kamina's Awakening in some of the older decks that I played with. Some of the original Turbo Fog list had a couple copies of this in the deck list. I don't like playing it without having the City's Blessing. However, once you get the City's Blessing, this is amazing. Like, this is just great. But if you don't have Planeswalkers, you could get away with just like running Immortal Sun. Granted, this is cheaper. Granted, Goblin Electromancer is cheaper than the Amulet. The thing is do you actually get to untap with Goblin Electromancer? In this particular deck, you don't have a lot of creatures. They're holding their kill spells anyway, just begging for something to use them on. So, like, I think that's a thing that you kind of need to worry about. But, you know, needs more cowbell, right? So, like, these Goblin Electromancers are going to bite the dust. Like, in 90% of your matchups, these are going to bite the dust, just because you don't have a ton of other things for them to kill. But let's keep going down the list here. So we've got Kamina's Awakening for more card draw. It does help mill them, but letting them draw cards is not always the best way to mill them, right? Like, that helps them kill you before you mill them out. Remember, mill is just a form of burn. For every 3 cards you mill, that's 1 point of damage. Alright? You need to mill 9 cards to be equivalent to a lightning bolt. Alright? 9 cards to equal lightning strike. Yeah, that card right there equals 9 cards out of your opponent's library. And that's the reason I'm not real big on mill. Now, I want an enchantment that says when you deal a point of damage to someone, they mill 3 cards instead of taking the damage, right? Like, instead of taking damage, they just mill 3 for every point of damage they took. Now, that would be a mill card. It would equal out to be the same as burn, so I'm going to burn you for damage. If I can get you to 20, I'll get rid of all 60. The problem with that is your opponent's going to draw and slowly take damage over time in that strategy. And in that strategy, you actually turn mill into the better form of burn, but you're using burn to mill the. I think it would be a great is it deck. I think it would just be a great is it strategy, and we've never gotten it. But whatever. If I created magic cards, I'd make that magic card. Anyway, mission briefing. I love this card. I think this card doesn't get enough play. I don't think enough people give this card any respect. I have taken to putting a copy of this in my mono blue. I was talking about this with James Clugston earlier. We were talking about Grixis, and I was like, you know, one copy of Mission Briefing may give you all the answers you need. I don't normally like multiple copies of it because there's not a lot you can do with it. But just like Snapcaster Mage, we've all cast Snapcaster Mage as an Ambush Viper or just putting a threat down, not even blocking something. I just want to start getting in for 2. You can just Mission Briefing for 2 mana on turn 2 to surveil 2 and guarantee you're going to get that next land, or look at those top 2 cards and be like, man, I need that land, you know, and you can do that. So you can always just 2 mana surveil 2, even if you don't get the other ability. So Patient Rebuilding, we got to play with this a little bit in Zaxadillo's version of like blue-white mill sometime back, and that particular you don't like mill with Nexus in rotation. Fair enough. Patient Rebuilding was like the main way that we were milling people, and if you have a controlling enough deck, this is really the only mill plan you really need. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent puts top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then you draw a card for each land that was put in their graveyard this way. Now this is draw, and it is mill. If you guys remember back when we were in Innistrad the first time, there was a blue-black control deck that used Nephalia Drownyard. Some of you are probably still familiar with Nephalia Drownyard, just because like it was the main win con of that deck was to mill you out, and that was my favorite way to mill someone out, because you're not actually just like milling them hardcore. You are milling them for 3 per turn. And 3 or 4 per turn, I forget, maybe 4. I think it was 3, but it costs like 4 mana to activate it or something. But you just controlled the game, and if they didn't do anything, if every turn that their deck choked, you milled them, and then you would go back to just more control, more counter, more kill, more draw. I'm just going to dig through my deck, and I'm going to mill you. I'm going to dig through my deck. I'm going to control the game, and that's the way the deck works. And I think that Patient Rebuilding works exactly like that, and I like this card. So next here we've got Pause for Reflection. Convoke, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. I don't think you're going to be convoking this. So are we running Root Snare? We are running Root Snare. Okay, so then that's the reason for Pause for Reflection, just because we're already running 4 copies of Root Snare. So Psychic Corrosion, I like Psychic Corrosion. I mean, it's one of the 3 good mill cards we have in Standard. One of those being Patient Rebuilding, the other being Psychic Corrosion, and then the other one's like Drown something. Drown, I don't know. I don't remember. There's Drown something. But yeah, this is just a fog effect. Prevent all combat damage. Randolph, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Tormenting Voice. Tormenting Voice is also, you know, just really good at digging through your deck, putting cards in your graveyard if you need to do that, stuff like that. Drowned Secrets, that's the card. Drowned in Secrets. Yeah, Drowned Secrets. Thank you, Randolph. I appreciate it, sir. You with the awesome name. In the sideboard here, we see he's running Field of Ruin, Memorial to Genius to draw some cards. He expects to have a ton of cards in hand and doesn't want to discard them. Reliquary Tower. This is probably a mistake. This is probably a waste of a land. I know a lot of people want to be running Reliquary Tower because, you know, you got 13 cards in hand, man. Like, I gotta keep them all. Why don't you just keep the 7 that win the damn game? All right, get rid of the rest of them. If you can't win the game with the 7 out of 13 cards, Reliquary Tower ain't gonna help you. I mean, it's not like we're playing, you know, where Tishana's, you know, where her power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, which there I would give Reliquary Tower a little bit more power, but How many decks are we going through? I'm going to go through this week. I'm just going to chill with you guys for a little bit longer here. Just something some people ain't going to like this content. So it's like some people don't care at all about this, but some of you guys do. And if we can get any more attention on our Reddit and get more people voting and posting decks and stuff like that, then we all win. So yeah. Jank says, love the Reliquary Tower speech. You feel the same way. Yeah, well, it's definitely how I feel about it. So, like, if there's no real reason, I mean, hell, you got Reliquary Tower right here. You have no maximum hand size. Done. Right? Like, if anything, maybe this is like this colorless land here that's not going to do you a ton of good. Maybe this is a detection tower, but I don't think it needs to be a Reliquary Tower. Like, how many of these cards do you need in hand to win? Repetitive copies of everything? I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I can throw half of these cards away and keep all copies of my mission briefing and do stuff good. So, you know, I can do stuff with this. So, you don't need more than. If your deck's built right, you should be able to pick 7 out of 13 cards. Like, if you get to look at the top 13 cards of your library and you get to pick 7, you should be able to get a decent hand out of that. I don't know why I picked 13, but I did. So, Naturalize, Negate, Nezal, Runic Armor Soarer. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you draw a card. Now, I would love this if we had more activated abilities in Standard. I originally, when this card first came out, I was like, this card is awesome. Oh my goodness, we're going to see this card all over the place. This is going to be great. And then I realized, like, Search for Wisconsin is like the only thing anyone's using. Like, that is it. Like, people are just activating Search for Wisconsin. Like, there's not a ton of other activations going. You watch games, and there may be 2 activations in the entire game, and I just don't think that that's a good reason for Runic Armor Soarer. And you guys may be able to point out some stuff that I'm not thinking about, but like a creature or a land, so it doesn't count mana. Yeah, everything's an enter the battlefield trigger, which is not an activated ability. Those are all triggered abilities. So yeah, I just don't see Runic Armor Soarer being a good card, period. So I don't know. Like, that's just me. I think this is a wasted spot. Rocker may be like, well, whatever. I like the card, but I just think it's a wasted spot. So, okay, so Path to Metal. Most of the flip lands have an activated ability. For the record, though, Path to Metal ain't getting a lot of play, man. Like, we talking pretty niche. I mean, you can pretty much pull up any card and go, in this one situation, man, this card is going to be sweet. How often are you going to hit that situation, you know? Runic Armor Soarer has some sweet art. This is Stegosaurus, I guess. Whatever. Silent Gravestone, again, I don't think that there's Stegosauruses are pimps. Yeah. After Sunday, they will be playing Path. Alright, fair enough. Silent Gravestone, again, I don't think we need Graveyard Hate right now. If the Muldrotha decks and stuff become a little bit more prevalent, then maybe we need some Graveyard Hate. We've even seen a lot of people starting to back off of the Eldest Reborn plans and stuff like that. So, again, I don't think we're in a meta right now where we need to be, like, using good, valuable sideboard slots versus Graveyard Hate. I don't mind having, you know, a piece of Graveyard Hate floating around, but I don't think we really need it. Sorcerer's Spyglass. Again, I was talking about Immortal Sun in the main board. I think that if you had more Immortal Suns, if you had those in the main board, probably I would rather have 2 Immortal Suns over the Kamina's Awakening. Even though I wasn't going to be playing it on 4, I don't expect you to play Kamina's Awakening on 4 anyway. I actually expect Kamina's Awakening to happen much later in the game. So at that point, it doesn't really matter if it's an Immortal Sun or not. But it'll still let you draw 2 cards. It'll still stop Teferi. And when you all of a sudden change those Kamina's Awakenings to more Immortal Suns, you normally don't actually need Sorcerer's Spyglass as much, which could open you up for, you know, a couple extra slots in your sideboard. Syncopate. I think Syncopate's a really good main board card, and you normally want to take Syncopate out in your sideboard for the proper counter per deck, if that makes any sense. Like, so let's say Syncopate was main deck, and we had it over a River's Rebuke. You know, I don't even like it main deck, and probably, I don't know, maybe you don't even have counter main deck, and you're not countering nothing. How do you live long enough to mill anything? Fiery Cannonade, Lightning Strike, Flashback Lightning Strike, Strike again. Pray you don't kill me. I hit my 1-up River's Rebuke, make you do it all over again, but I can't stop you. I don't like this deck, Rocker. I don't like it, man. Anyway, Syncopate's normally really good in the main board, and then you have either Essence Scattered, Disdainful Stroke, or Negates in your sideboard, which, you know, at that point you can you know, like trade out the Syncopate for the proper counter for that particular matchup. We see this a lot in the Grixis decks, you know, where, you know, they have those 2 main board Syncopates, and then as soon as they go into the sideboard, they're like, let's rip out these 2 Syncopates, and in this verse, and in this, you know, in this particular deck, we're bringing in Disdainful Strokes, or, you know, against this creature deck, we're bringing in Essence Scatter or something like that. I'm not going to say that the deck can't win. It just doesn't look like my kind of deck. I mean, I get it. It's Turbo Fog, but it's Turbo Fog, and we're not even taking extra turns. I'm having a hard time seeing the seeing a win happen here. Like, I could be wrong. I could be really wrong, but it seems like as soon as someone hits a, like, how do you beat Golgari Finebroker is my question, right? I don't even mean the triggers. I just mean they just play a Finebroker. How do you beat that? Like, so Golgari Finebroker, like, you need to Fiery Cannonade and Lightning Strike to kill it. You stop it from swinging at you 500,000 times with, like, Polished Reflection, Mission Briefing back into a Polished Reflection. That alone can buy you a ton of turns. But as soon as you come against anything with a, like the Drake's deck's going to bring in, you know, Negates versus you. They stop they stop pretty much any of your root snares and stuff, and they're just swinging through. The Drake's deck would love you to mill them out a little bit, so they just like, oh man, you put my 1 maximized velocity in the graveyard, and you put my my other card in the graveyard, which maybe the whole reason for Silent Gravestone, but Silent Gravestone doesn't stop it. Like, Jumpstart doesn't stop any of that. So, like, you have to spend 5 mana to play this, tap it, and exile all cards from all graveyards. So, like, that's a lot of mana. It's awful late. You know, I just think this deck's a couple turns too slow. That's all. All right, that's all I've got on the mill deck. I'm going to upvote everybody today, so you can upvote too. All right, Dimir discard. I am going to upvote it, but we played this. Like, if you guys want to check out this discard deck, we played this one last week as well. So I'm not really going to talk about Polaris's deck, But if you guys want to see the gameplay and how I thought about or how I felt about that deck, go check it out on this past Sunday's video. It was a pretty good deck. It seemed to do exactly what it's supposed to do. All right, so how many we got here? It's not that many. I do need to speed it up a little bit. This is starting to take a little while. Just a Fraying Omnipotence deck. All right, Fraying Omnipotence. So, pretending... Oh, wait. Fraying Omnipotence. Alright. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control. Round up each time. Alright. Doomfalled Gearhulk. Doomfalled Gearhulk. Doomfalled Gearhulk. Oh, it's another K-Dog deck. K-Dog's posting a lot. Oh, man. Opened it twice. Alright. Alright, so... Base... We're Jun? Alright. So I don't like this deck. We're Jun. I don't like it. Alright. Moving on. Okay, so we've got treasure maps to help, card draw, land selection, even mana fixing once we get the treasures. Same can be said about the Pirate's Pillage. Both things, card draw and mana fixing. Banefire. This works pretty smooth. I mean, you just get a ton of mana. You can have 7 mana on turn 5 after you turn 4 with a Pirate's Pillage. That's a lot of mana. Doomfall, skip. Right. Anyway, Banefire's pretty cool. I mean, you can have a ton of mana in this deck, so yeah, I kind of like Banefire. 4 of, though, I mean, like, he really, really means it. Fraying Omnipotence, they're going to lose half their life, round it up each time. And so once they lose half their life, they're definitely starting to get in range of Banefire. So, man, this could be a mean deck. Could be very volatile, though. Could easily kill you. Grow from the Ashes. Like, do you not have, like, Nullhide Ferox in this deck? I mean, the whole plan is to discard half your hand. Where's your Nullhide Ferox? You should be running, like, 4 of those. I'm going to turn 5. Like, forget playing Nullhide Ferox. You just want it there and just get them for free. Oh, I got to discard half my hand. It's not at random, is it? It's not at random. Yeah. Then discards half the cards in their hand and sacrifices half the creatures they control. So you got to resolve this entire ability. Nullhide Ferox's triggers would go on the stack. Oh, it is. You're right. Nullhide Ferox does say when an opponent makes you discard. Damn, you blew that out of the water. Alright. Back to the drawing board. Let's see what he's got. Alright. Okay, so Grow from the Ashes. Yeah, that doesn't work. Nullhide Ferox. Won't the trigger kill Nullhide anyway? Yeah, it just won't work, period. So, I was just wrong. Yeah. I was just wrong. Shows how much I play with that card. Boy, you guys are quick. Nullhide only works on the opponent. And so it don't work. My bad, K-Dog. Grow from the Ashes. Okay. So for 5 mana we get 2 lands. They do come in untap. For 3 mana we get a land that comes in untap. On turn 3, this is actually really sweet because on turn 2 you play Treasure Map. You don't activate it in your upkeep on turn 3. You play Grow from the Ashes on turn 3. Get the extra mana. Use that mana to activate the Treasure Map after you thin the deck. I don't know. That Teamer deck could use Grow from the Ashes. Possibly. Yeah. Grow from the Ashes is a really good card. It's one of the better ramp spells we have. It's probably one of the more flexible ramp spells we have. But one of my favorite ramp spells right now is like the delayed ramp of Treasure Map. So, Ritual of Soot. This card's really good in the meta right now. So it looks like the plan here is to just like straight up, we're going to treasure map, Gift of Paradise. Now, you're just going to ramp into making them lose half their life and then Banefire them to death, aren't you? Like, that's the whole plan. Like, that's it. That's the whole game plan right there. We're going to ramp into a ton of mana, Fraying Omnipotence, make them lose half their life, half their cards, half their creatures, and then we're going to just burn them with a Banefire. Maybe multiple turns. Like, burn Banefire. Hey, look, guess what I got next turn? Banefire again. That's not a bad plan, dude. Like, I like that. Like, when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of this deck, the deck's straight up. Like, this is the game plan. I'm getting you low, and then I'm going to burn you out. I even like Sovereign's Bite. This card's good. This card's a lot better than people give it credit for, and if this thing would have been able to turn towards a creature for this converted mana cost, it would have got banned. Like, so I get it. Like, you can't have this point towards a creature, but in a burn strategy, and let's face it, that's what this is. This is a burn strategy. I mean, you turn 5, burn them for 10. If you haven't touched them, you burn them for 10 right here on turn 5. And then, hell, it might not even be turn 5. Like, you may be doing this on turn 4. Turn 4, Fraying Omnipotence, and then get much further on up into the curve, or much further into your mana, and you're just... This deck could work, man. This deck could really work. I like the fact that you're putting a little emphasis on gaining those little bits of extra life here with Gift of Paradise and the Sovereign's Bite. I think that works. I think that works really well. Bonus Hunger. Happy to see this in some decks, because Double Cast is a bad card. I would rather, instead of him playing Double Cast, I would rather see him play like Expansion. But I don't like Double Cast. I don't like Double Cast. Just don't. I like copying spells. I really do. But I don't like Double Cast. Bonus Hunger, though. This card's not bad. Especially if you're making them sacrifice half their creatures, and then they're probably going to keep their best ones, and Bonus Hunger deals with that. Baroska's Contempt for everything else. Assassin's Trophy in the sideboard, along with Duress, Golden Demise, 3 Lava Coils, and 3 Moment of Craving. That's pretty good. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy seeing like 3 Lava Coils and 3 Moment of Craving. Like, when we looked at all the mono white decks, all the white decks, period, all of them, the one card that all the decks had in common, other than History of Benalia, was a Danto Vanguard. And unless you can Fungal Infection or Moment of Craving him, there's not a lot of ways to kill him other than just exile him. So, yeah. Like, this deck seems plausible. Seems plausible. I don't like that it's Jun. So, all in all, I don't like the deck. But the strategy seems very plausible. The question is do you need green at all? Like, do you have to be Jun? And then, if you're not in Jun, then would just Punisher Burn be a better deck? I don't know. Because you got Golden Demise, maybe you could come off some of the Moment of Cravings. I like Moment of Craving, but I think Golden Demise is still a really good card. So add Sword Point Diplomacy, right? Fraying Omnipotence, and it's like, hey, you paid 2 for your Shock Land on turn 1, so you took 9 more life. You're down to 9. I'm gonna Sword Point. Of course, for that matter, risk factor, right? Like, so with that idea, do we just put Fraying Omnipotence into Punisher Burn? I'll let you guys think about that. I don't like Jun right now. I think the mana base is just crap. I didn't look over your mana base. Like, pick at it or anything, but I'm just not a fan. Can't lose Banefire to Sword. It's true. It's true. You can't risk it, right? So what about risk factor? Let's look at this Polyraptor deck really quick. Alright, Polyraptor Rage, once again, this time with a second possible way to infinite. Alright, I was wanting to say infinity and beyond. Let's see what he's got. This is by Metzer. I haven't seen Metzer in chat in a while, but this is a deck by Metzer, and let's see what he's brewed up. What she's gonna pop up in chat. I've been here the whole time. Vivian Reed as a 2 of. All right, so let's see if we can find. All right, so we know this is a Polyraptor deck, of course. So for those of you that don't know, Polyraptor. Well, this is horrible. This is horrible for streaming. It puts the thing up down there under chat. I can't show you guys. There we go. We go back to the old deck builder and it puts it out here. All right. So Polyraptor has Enrage. Whenever it takes damage, you make a copy of Polyraptor. Right? So if you had something that said whenever a dinosaur enters the battlefield, you'll deal 1 damage to each creature. So a dinosaur will enter the battlefield. Polyraptor will deal 1 damage. Where's Rush? He should be on his honeymoon. He should be on his honeymoon. Good night, Madness. Take care, man. I know this stream's running real late. Some people are, kind of bouncing out. Some people aren't. But we looked at your deck. You're free to go. Take care, man. Thanks for sticking around. Can I zoom in, please? Yeah, I can, man. Yeah, this is a little bit small, isn't it? Let's see if we can get on in here. How about that? Is that better? Can you guys read that? Is it a little bit better? I might have to zoom out when we get to something else, but alright, so Polyraptor says whenever it takes damage, make a copy of Polyraptor. Alright, Forerunner of the Empire says when it enters the battlefield, go get a dinosaur you want, right? So it also says whenever a dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Forerunner of the Empire deal 1 damage to each creature. That includes him. He's going to take the 1 damage too. So Forerunner comes in, you get Polyraptor, you play Polyraptor. No, granted, Polyraptor's 8 mana. Okay, so Polyraptor enters the battlefield. Polyraptor triggers Forerunner, deals 1 damage to each creature. Polyraptor takes a damage, triggers Enrage, makes another Polyraptor. That Polyraptor enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to each creature. So now you have 2 Polyraptors, making 2 more Polyraptors. 2 Polyraptors enter the battlefield, putting 2 Forerunners of the Empire triggers on the stack. Alright, so now you have 4 Polyraptors on the battlefield, right? Now, this is the point where Forerunner's going to kill himself, okay? But those 4 Polyraptors will take 4 points of damage, or 2 points of damage. So the first trigger will go off. All 4 will make 8, right? Now the first one at this point, I don't think you ever actually kill the first one. There's some math like how many you totally make, how many you make before the Forerunner dies, but I think it's like 7 Polyraptors or something like that. So first Polyraptor triggers, makes a second Polyraptor. Triggers, makes 4 Polyraptors. That's 2 triggers. Now Forerunner dies, but there's still a trigger on the stack. So those 4 Polyraptors will make 4 more Polyraptors, which is 8. But Forerunner's dead, so no more triggers. Now, the second trigger goes off on 8 Polyraptors, making 8 more Polyraptors? It's like 16 Polyraptors? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right, and Regisaur Alpha could give them all haste. Yeah, that would be crazy. So it's been a while since I've seen anybody play Polyraptor decks, but it was a deck that a lot of people wanted to play around with. So let's take a look and see what he's thrown together here for his version of Polyraptor. Vivian Reed being able to dig up that +1 on Vivian Reed, being able to dig up those top 4 cards, pick a card that you need. You go get your your Forerunner of the Empire. You go get your your Polyraptor, whatever. Trapjaw Tyrant, not a bad card here when he takes damage. So this is really an Enrage deck, not just a Polyraptor deck, but an Enrage deck. When Trapjaw Tyrant is dealt damage, exile target creature an opponent controls until Trapjaw Tyrant leaves the battlefield. So, like, you play this after you play your Forerunner, and you exile something, and then every dinosaur that comes in, you're going to get to exile another one of your opponent's creatures, and another one of the opponent's creatures, and another one of the opponent's creatures, so on and so forth. So, like, there's a lot you can do there. Kenneth, thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate all your posts and everything on the Reddit. All right, so you get to take some creatures from the opponent. Raging Swordtooth gives you another way to trigger the Polyraptors other than just having the Forerunner. Ranging Raptors is going to help you ramp into some of these other cards because you're taking the damage from Raging Swordtooth and things like that. Ripjaw Raptor being able to draw cards when you take damage. Carnage Tyrant, that's Carnage Tyrant. It's just Carnage Tyrant. When Siege-Horn Ceratops is dealt damage, put 2 +1/1 counters on it. I like that, but personally, I actually like the Aegis Armosaur or something like that. Yeah, it's like 5 mana, but Aegis Armosaur, like once it starts coming into the battlefield, it's going to take a point of damage. It's going to put a +1/1 counter. Every time it takes a point of damage, it's going to put a +1/1 counter on each creature you control, I think. If it's only dinosaur, then my next statement's not going to work. But if it's each creature you control, and I think it is, Forerunner will deal 1 point of damage to himself and the dinosaur, but all of a sudden the dinosaur is going to put a +1/1 counter on him. At that point, Forerunner never kills himself from your Polyraptors entering the battlefield, because every single time you're going to keep putting +1/1 counters. So only one, like every time you get a 1 point enrage trigger, it's just going to be negated. And there might be a point in there somewhere where like the Armosaur dies or something like that, and then the chain stops. But other than that, like you'd go much higher on the chain. But yeah, Ripjaw Raptor sees a lot in this deck. You actually like the Ceratops? Ceratops is not bad. I don't say that. I don't think that the Ceratops is bad, but I also don't necessarily know if I want 4 Polyraptors. 4 8-drop seems like a little bit rough, but I mean, if you can get to it, then fine. I mean, you got a lot of ways to get to it. Thunderherd Migration seems good. Being able to ramp. Assure to Assemble. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Hold on now. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains indestructible until end of turn. See, that would also be really sweet as well. Putting on, like, making your Forerunner indestructible means that it doesn't die, and you just keep chaining off and chaining off and chaining off. At some point, like, initial Polyraptors are gonna die, but whatever. Una may not be able to stop. Is Polyraptor a May? If you make Forerunner indestructible, you may have Forerunner deal 1 damage to each. Okay, so you can stop. Alright. Alright, okay. I was going to say, you may not be able to stop, and you just lose the game. But there is a May in this combo, so you do get to choose when to stop. Don't like Helm of the Host. I think we're already doing so many slow things, and we don't have time for something like this. But that being said, why not? You're already going out on a limb with everything else. So I think this is should be a different card. Like, just maybe Grow from the Ashes or something like that. So phone died while we were looking at your deck. Rocker, I'm sorry, man. I just wasn't a fan of your deck, man. Like, you can go back and look at everything I said about it, but I just wasn't a real big fan of it. It felt like the only thing we were going to do in the deck was fog and then flashback fog with mission briefing, and then just keep fogging and fogging and fogging, and I guess that is the way to eventually mill your opponent out. But it felt like as soon as we come against a blue deck that they were just going to counter a fog and swing on us anyway. So Drakes, like the Drake stacks and stuff like that, I just think you're going to have a really bad matchup against Drakes with that mill. But that being said, I'm not a big fan of mill anyway, so I'm probably not the person to go to and go, hey, check out this mill deck. I'm probably going to be like, that sucks. I don't like it. But, you know, that's just my play strategy. I'm just not a big fan of mill. When it works, it's cool, but it always feels like bad burn. So, no offense. I wasn't a fan, but definitely gave you that thumbs up. And if you go back and check it out, maybe there's some feedback there for you. Maybe some Immortal Suns over the Kamena's Awakening or something like that, which will free up a little bit of extra room in your sideboard. We talked about your sideboard a lot, but hopefully there's something constructive there. But yeah, I mean, you've beaten the Drake stack a handful of times. Seems like they would just sit back and wait till they got to the point where they killed you in an all-out strike and just swamp. It's just over. Yeah, this Dino deck CMC is off the charts. It is way off the charts. A lot of really big spells. Unfortunately, like, with this deck, I feel that you're going to run up against something like when we're looking at the sideboard. We've got Plummet, Ixalan's Binding, Kanjali Sunwing, Carnage Tyrant, 4 Lava Coils is nice, Crawl Harpooner, and 2 Deafening Clarions. So against like mono white, you're bringing in Lava Coil and Deafening Clarion. If you don't hit Deafening Clarion, you're dead before you get anything else to happen. Lava Coil might buy you some time, but you know, those decks are dumping their hands so fast that it just may not work. However, a Deafening Clarion will fix everything. So I mean, at least he's got answers to sweep the board and stuff like that. So the flying hate is real, right? I also like the fact that, you know, he's also got anti-haste or anti-vigilance or whatever. Like this works really good against, you know, someone trying to get like neutral mana cards out of getting neutral mana cards out of, like, you know, convoke abilities. You know, you play a 1-drop. That 1-drop actually didn't cost anything because you're about to play a convoke spell anyway. Well, if it enters tap, yeah, that costs mana. You know, you're not getting neutral on it. So, plus that deck was a different version. Apparently, you hadn't changed it from the site that you was building the list on. Well, Rocker, I would like to see the new version of the list. And again, you know, I don't like all decks. Like, I don't like this Polyraptor deck. No offense to whose deck is this? Metzer. Metzer's been a fan for a long time, and, you know, a cool guy. But I just think this deck doesn't have a lot going on in the early turns. Also, I really want to see some Regisaur Alphas in this deck to give all these dinosaurs some haste. So yeah. You'll change it up as we speak. All right, man. Let's move on. Like, it's a cool deck. It's a cool take, cool concept. I definitely think that we could get a little, like, trim on the Helm of Host. I think this is just kind of either win more or takes a little bit away from, you know, the overall game plan. I also think this deck's kind of like just out there as an enrage deck, and there's just a lot of enrage mechanics going on. Meanwhile, there's actually this one serious plan that the deck really wants to be taking. And in my opinion, just like when we were talking around, like playing around with the idea of Path to Metal, that you just really want to stay like focused. Like, how do you plan on winning your matches? And if your plan is like, well, in some matches I want to do this over here, and some matches I want to do this thing over here, and then that's kind of all over the place. So I think that if you're wanting to play, you know, a Polyraptor deck, then the deck should probably be more streamlined and focused on making the Polyraptor combo happen instead of just like making a whole bunch of different things happen. But all in all, I do like the strategy, and I think he's got a really good sideboard here as far as like having plans against certain things. So it's very possible he's actually playing this deck. Like, this deck looks like it's actually had a bit of work done to it. But all in all, I just don't like Helm of the Host. Like, Helm of the Host, just like, this just seems so out of place for me. And some of these other cards could probably easily become, you know, Regisaur Alphas, which would probably just sure up a lot of matchups. But yeah, that's just my opinion. All right, let's Path to Riches. The moment you've all been waiting for. Dun dun dun. Alright, so this is the deck that Tier 1 Jank or Marcus has been double shock your Polyraptor on end step. Path of Riches. Check this aggro Jank out and upvote these shenanigans. Marcus, Tier 1 Jank. Alright, so Dream Play unanswered. Turn 1, Firebrand, 1 damage. Turn 2, Firebrand, 3 damage. Turn 3, Captain Storm. We've done 7 damage. Turn 4, Pirates Pillage. Sacrifice all the treasures. Buccaneers Bravado, 23 total damage on turn 4 kill. Can we get this on stream, please? Alright, well, that is a scenario. That's a scenario where you made it all the way to turn 4 completely unblocked. That is a scenario where you pumped out a metric shit ton of damage. Let's take a look at the actual deck. That's right, a metric shit ton. That's a lot of damage. Turn 4, 23 damage. It's pretty good. Alright, so, all in all, we do have to kind of keep in mind that, you know, the baseline of this deck, it's a Path of Metal deck. Alright, so that's going to be the decision factor on why most of these cards are chosen. Remember, Path of Metal needs First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Alright, Path of Metal. First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, right? Like, these cards just look so blurry to me. Like, I know they look blurry to you guys on stream. They look blurry to me on my computer in high definition. Like, it just, everything looks a little blurry. Anyway, maybe it's my eyes. Need more potassium or something. Whatever. Fanatical Firebrand, Haste. Captain Legendary Storm, Haste. Vigilance, Haste. Flying, that don't count. So that does nothing. Torch Courier, Haste. You can sacrifice it. Well, you're going to sacrifice it to give something else haste? What do you need this Torch Courier for? The Prayer, an extra option of Fanatical Firebrand, just an extra 1-drop. I mean, turn 1, get in for 1. That ain't horrible. Excuse me. Alright. First Strike, Mentor, Swift Blade Vindicator, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample. Alright, so you got the backbones of a decent little Mentor deck going on here. Why only 1 Tajik? Just curious. Just a little bit curious. I don't like Bounty Agent, not main board. I mean, it's a 2/2 with Vigilance, but I mean, what's wrong with just running Knight of Grace here, right? I don't know how I feel about it. You know, Bounty Agent. Also, Bounty Agent doesn't really play into your monster curve, but that's 12 1-drops that survive path. Fair enough. And I get that, you know, Rustwing Falcon doesn't help trigger path, but it survives path. I do like having haste creatures because you don't even have a creature on the battlefield. They just see that that Path of Metal just laying there, and then all of a sudden you tap 2 mana and you go Firebrand and Torchwing, and bam, flip my Path of Metal. Let's go. I do think that Tajik is a little bit more important. However, I just don't like Rustwing here. Rustwing doesn't seem to do anything other than pick up a counter. Like, that's the only thing it looks like Rustwing does for you in this deck, is just picks up a counter. Probably picks up a counter fairly easily because of, you know, I don't know, but wouldn't you just want to put it on everything else? I mean, you turn 1 Rustwing, turn 2 Sun Home Steward, and then turn 3 Tajik. Sounds good. That's not that curve that you mentioned, but I mean, that's not horrible. I'm just not a fan of Rustwing. This is probably like a free slot that you could do something else with. But like, this is the only thing in the creature base that I'm just having that, and the lack of more Tajiks. I think Tajik's so much better than people give him credit for. I don't know. I don't like Bounty Agent. I don't like Rustwing Falcon in this deck. Let's move on down. Path of Metal. Pirate's Pillage. Alright, so you do have these dream scenarios, but even you are only running 2 Pirate's Pillage. Like, there's that chance you could have that, but likelihood probably something else, right? Yeah, I just think Bounty Agent. Yeah, it could just definitely be something else that could possibly trigger your Path of Metal. But again, you're only running 2 Path of Metal. You're not even as heavy in on it as the other decks were. So this is kind of like just a Boros aggro deck that happens to have Path of Metal, and it's kind of built around Path of Metal, but not necessarily. Pirate's Pillage, great card. It took me a long time for the Horde to really convince me on Pirate's Pillage, but I really like Pirate's Pillage. And then you know, we move on down to like Fight with Fire, Banefire, Conclave Tribunal, which are probably really easy to cast. Buccaneer's Bravado. This is a card you were talking about. If they're pirates, they gain double strike. This card's actually really, really good. So, Healer dies to... Talking about Healer Hawk? Yeah, Healer dies to Path of Metal, though. Yeah. Sky Marcher Aspirant dies to Path of Metal. Like, so... Not a lot going on. Like, if you want 1-drops, then not a lot going on. That is not a Plains. That is a Crystal Vein. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Sacrifice Crystal Vein. Add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. Okay. Is that a mountain? That is a mountain. So, something you could think about is if you have set the deck to be a little bit redder than it is white, which here it looks like you're split right up the middle, man. You got 4 Clifftop, 4 Sacred Foundry, 5 Mountain, 5 Plains, and then 2 colorless land. Bam, 20 lands. Call it a day. You're done, right? Yeah, Plains seem to show up like that. It's been a thing for a while, but whatever. Anyway, I like the idea that you can like copy a Fight with Fire with your expansion Explosion. The problem is here is you're a 20 land deck. I get that you've got, you know, Captain Planetary Storm, you've got Pirate's Pillage, like you're planning on ramping into things, but I don't think you're doing a lot with expansion Explosion, man. I don't know. I think if you get into a good hot game where both players are curving out, you ain't gonna have time for this card. Especially with only 20 lands. Like, and then do you have more lands in the sideboard? No, you go up to 6 drops in the sideboard with 20 lands, with no additional lands. I don't think you can get away with that, man. Like, I don't think you can get away with that. 20 lands, trying to play 6 drops. I get that the main board's fine. Like, you're probably like just fine on your main board. You count it as a red counter spell. Alright, so you're just using it to counter them when they counter you. So you're planning on casting a spell and having 2 mana open after you cast a spell. A spell that's worth them casting. How about a classical Seal Away Ixalan's Binding package? How about Baffling In, Seal Away Ixalan's Binding? Any of those? I actually like Conclave Tribunal in these like low to the ground decks more than I like Ixalan's Binding, but I also like Baffling In and Seal Away. So I'm not real big on Ixalan's Binding in these decks just because of like the low converted mana cost. You can get away with Conclave Tribunal just because like the deck just doesn't cost a ton. I ain't real big on the Revel in Riches and the Sideboard. I get that you've got a ton of ways. Expansion, good counter you found. Okay, so that's exactly what we were talking about. But, alright, so what do you have to cast for them to counter it? They're going to counter your Fanatical Firebrand? Maybe? Alright, so you cast the Captain Lannery Storm. They're probably going to counter that. You need 5 mana to counter their counter after you've cast something that they want to counter. Like, so the only time that you're going to counter something with Expansion Explosion is when they counter your thing. So do they spin a counter spell on a Fanatical Firebrand or on a Rustwing Falcon or a Torch Courier? Probably not. Alright. You gotta have 4 mana to be able to like just cast, you know, your Stalwart. They counter that, and if they counter it with Essence Scatter, then you can't do anything anyway. So I don't know. Like, I get it's a counter spell against control late game. Against control late game, you're probably already messed up. Like part of your strategy versus control is to not let this go into the late game, right? Like, how do you stop this from ever even getting to the late game? Because their late game is a lot more powerful than your late game. So I don't know if that really goes with the strategy that you really want to be on. Like, I get it. Like, there's always, like, in every card, we can always say, hey, in this situation, this is going to be awesome. But is it, though? I just don't like Revel in Riches in a 20-land deck. 20-land deck that the only way you're going to cast it is off of a treasure. So you're planning on going into some alternate win con late game strategy versus certain decks. I think you're like, I also don't think this is a deck that you want Deafening Clarion in. Like, again, you're supposed to be the aggressor here. So I don't know. If it gets the votes, we will play it. Path to Riches. It's definitely an interesting deck. You do have a curve in there that would be absolutely devastating. Lifelink. Make a stand. Like, just run Make a Stand. I don't know. Like, if you're casting Deafening Clarion just to give your creatures lifelink, then you know. If you cannonade after March with Revel out, you probably win on upkeep. Fair enough. Let me jump back over to your deck real quick. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a treasure artifact token. Alright, so fair enough, man. I mean, I get it. You like your treasure mat, like you like your treasures, you like your spell swindles, you like that style of play. I get that this is probably one of your pet cards, and you've done some crazy stuff with this in the past. Okay, like, there's nothing else I can say about it. Like, anything else I say about it, you're definitely just going to, you know, hit me back with, well, I do this and I do that and I do that, and we can sit here and argue about every decision in the entire deck. And I'm just saying, I don't like running 20 lands and trying to cast a 6 mana spell. I don't like playing 20 lands and expecting part of my strategy is to cast a 4-mana spell. I just don't. You've only got 2 Capillary Storms. So I just don't see this deck getting there. If this deck's going to get there for me, I think you're going to get there with that curve that you talked about earlier, right? Like that curve of doing 23 damage, like you're not even maximizing your opportunities for that curve to happen. So, which that curve honestly sounds more powerful than anything else. But, you know, you actually prefer Marionette Master and Mechanized Production, but they rotated out. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, the curve sounds great. Path to Metal, the idea of like flipping Path to Metal and going into this, you know, defensive style game plan. That's fine too. You know, you're doing this long grind out. Like in a long late game, Path to Metal is your answer. Like this is how you kill people, right here. Like just kill them with Path to Metal. Like it does 2 damage per turn, and that'll get the job done. So, all right, I'm gonna move on. Basically, all value creatures and some angels. All right, all value creatures and some angels. Now this one's by Sir Elks. We played a couple of his decks here not too long ago. Dusk Legion Zealot, not a bad card. Mara Kites. Okay. Alright, well. So we're green, white, black. Okay, so what can we do with junk colors here? Abzan. Kitesail Freebooter, Knights of Autumn, Midnight Reaper, Splendid Angel, Lyra Dawnbringer. Alright, so we don't have any tribal synergy going on. I thought we had some tribal synergy for a second there, looking at the Knights, you know, the Zombie Knight. I like Midnight Reaper. I think Midnight Reaper's a great card. I wish you could get him back with a Johnny, but you can't. A Johnny, man, now we got to zoom in again. A Johnny, you know, only going to give you back a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard, so a lot of these creatures you're not going to be able to get back. You can get back the Kitesail Freebooter, the Amara, the Dusk Legion Zealot, which, you know, that's card advantage all in itself, just getting back, you know, Dusk Legion Zealot, drawing another card, like, these things work. It's not like the most ideal thing, but, you know, it's a grind. Settle the Wreckage, Status Statue, Find Finale. Status Statue. How many things with 3 power or greater do we got? Alright, so lives, dies, could live, dies. Okay, so lives, could live. Okay. So these are the only things that could actually survive if you haven't already started using a Johnny. Now, if you've already gotten a Johnny down, you start using the Johnny, and you start pumping some of these guys up. I mean, it is, like, he's right. Like, this deck is just all about value, which, in a way, kind of, like, makes me wonder why he's running the Status Statues. I like the card, and I'm not, like, totally against the card. However, in this deck, if I was running it, I'd probably be running it for the statue more than I would the status. Like, yeah, you could give, like, do we have Knight of Grace? We don't even have Knight of Grace. We don't even have anything with First Strike. So, oh, okay. Lyra's got First Strike, so you could give Death Touch to Lyra, but I think this is actually just for the destroy target creature, artifact, or enchantment. I think that's why he's got this in here. Which I can get behind that. If you don't have, like, Baraska's Contempts, or you don't think that you can get muster up the double black, statue's pretty good. If we had the other black-white lands, it would probably smooth this deck out a lot. Like, because this deck wants white mana. Actually, it doesn't want any double black, though, does it? Okay, that means he actually gets to put a little bit more emphasis on that. Deck doesn't want hardly any green. So green is just kind of a splash. This is a white deck, splash black, splash green. So, I mean, he could probably get away with this mana base. I ain't going to dig into the numbers too much, but Duress, Sentinel Totem, probably an open spot. Yeah, Argyle's Bloodfast. I like this card. I think this card's weaker than it's been in the past, but I still like the card. Ixalan's Binding. Ixalan's Binding is good. Although you might want the Convoke one. Like to Convoke with Imaria and like your Dusk Legion Zealot and stuff like that. But Ixalan's Binding is great. Shalai, Voice of Plenty. I like Shalai in Abzan decks. She can actually be pumped. It's rare that we're seeing her lately in decks that can pump. You think if this deck needs some Flower to Flourish? Well, it's got 24 lands. Like, if he put Flower to Flourish in, he'd probably want to cut down to, like, 21 lands and then run, like, 4 Flower to Flourish. I don't know. Duress, Sentinel Totem, Ixalan's Binding. It just looks like a really clean deck. Like, doesn't look like it's trying to do anything crazy. Doesn't look like there's a lot of jank going on. I think that there's some open spots in the sideboard here. But yeah, I mean, the deck looks straightforward. I mean, Resplendent Angels, Lyra Dawnbringers. You're giving up, you know, Aurelia, but for that you're picking up, like, Knight of Autumn. And I don't know if Knight of Autumn's that good, but decks, like, I would play around with the sideboard a little bit. I'd want to talk to him, like what's his thinking behind the status statues, and if he says just to have statue, then I'd be like, all right, cool, you know, all right, I can get behind that. If he's for status, I don't really see it, but whatever. As far as the Sentinel Totems, Argyle's Bloodfast, those cards in the sideboard, you could probably trade them out. This is probably your open spot to play around with. Flower would be great to for Flourish side, trigger Resplendent. How much mana is Flower to Flourish? How much mana is Flourish? That's my question. How much mana is Flourish? I want to say it's 6 mana. Because if it is 6 mana, then you don't have to waste a card. You can just activate Resplendent Angel. So, I mean, I get activating everything for +2 is pretty damn good, but you know what I'm saying. Why spend a card when you don't have to? That looks sweet. I'm gonna do something I haven't done to all the other decks. I really like this deck. Comment, upvote, all those good things. Oh man, we gotta save in progress. Deck looks really sweet though. So, -1 Lyra, -1 Resplendent Angel, +2 Carnage Tyrant. Carnage Tyrant would be really good with your Fine Finales. So, I mean, when you're running Fine Finale anyway, Carnage Tyrant, it's kind of a little combo there. Works really good. So. Something went wrong. Just don't panic. Really? Well, where went my comment? Alright, let's get back down here. We've got a Man, we got a bunch of decks to go. I can't finish all these tonight, guys. We'll have to talk about the rest of the decks some other time. Yeah. Oh, downvote that dude. I'm gonna give everybody that posted their decks though. I'll go ahead and upvote all of these decks. But yeah, that's all I really have time for tonight, guys. It's already 12:45, and yeah. So anyway, I hope you liked the after show tonight. I know some people stuck around and watched. Some people did not. For those of you that did, if you're in chat and you have a deck up here right now and you were waiting on me to get to it, please say something now. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. But if you're here, and you're live, and you're waiting for me to actually talk about your deck, even though I may talk shit about your deck, I may not like your deck. Like, remember that. I'm entitled to my opinion. So, what time will the other decks be talked about? I don't know. At the end of another stream some other time? I don't know. This just may be the new thing, you know. Spend 30, 45 minutes, you know, at the end of streams, you know, kind of winding down with the chat and, you know, those that want to stick around. So, I'm here. Gruel Unsealing. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me. All right. I'm picking, bud. All right, so where's Gruel's Unsealing? When did you post this? When did you post this deck, Jack? It's fairly new. There's a Jund Unsealing. Oh, this was that sideboard plan I did for Rush. Did you guys see this? So I went down this deck list for Rush, right? And I built him a sideboard plan, right? Like, he gave me his deck. He's like, you do the, like, this is my deck. I need a sideboard plan. And I built him a sideboard plan. I pulled up, you know, what's in from the sideboard, what's out. Talked about, you know, like the plan to have for each matchup, best cards in the matchup, worst cards in the matchup, things to think about, which will help keep mulligans and stuff like that. It's fairly new, 31 minutes ago. Alright. So, we'll click new. Goreclaw's Unsealing! Are you Pabs? Are you Pabs 4444? Alright, so let's take a look at your Goreclaw Unsealing. I am not getting into your maybe board. Your maybe board means that you have a lot of ideas and you need to refine that. That's a lot of maybes. That's a lot of maybes. Like, a lot of these cards, you probably just need to go down through them. Ask yourself one question as you go down through all these maybes and go, how does this help the theme that I plan to use to win the majority of my matchups? And if you can only pick out, like, man, this will be good when I have this and this and this and this, take it off the maybe list. It's gone. It doesn't. Maybe it don't belong in the deck. Get rid of it. But you can eliminate half of these maybes. But in order to eliminate any of them, you need to know what you want the deck to do. So let's take a look at the deck in general. Running 4 mainboard copies of Sarkhan's Unsealing. So, how about my EDH deck from 5 years ago for laughs? No, I'm not touching that. I ain't touching it. Alright, so the main game plan here, Sarkhan's Unsealing. So, which means we want to cast creatures with power 4 or greater. Alright. I'm assuming that by the name and the fact that there are at least 3 Goreclaws in the deck, that we're wanting to cast Goreclaw. We're wanting to get that value off of Goreclaw. Alright, so now that we know that we want to be getting, we want to get a Sarkhan's Unsealing down, we want to get a Goreclaw down, and now all of our big dudes cost a little bit less. My bad. Every time I go to a different website. How's that? You guys see that? There we go. Looks nasty, but whatever. We'll deal with it. Carnage Tyrant's great in these decks. Like, it's hard to say no to Carnage Tyrant. Drover the Mighty. It's alright. The big argument on Drover the Mighty is it'll make 1 mana of any color. Or the big argument is you can attack with it later if you have a dinosaur. But just tell me which dinosaur is going to need Drover the Mighty to attack for it. Right? You've got a Galta. You really need your Llanowar Elf swinging in? Really? Like, you can't win with a Galta or a Carnage Tyrant? Right? So, let's go ahead and rule out that, well, if I've got another dino, I can swing for 3. If you've got another dino, you probably got a threat that can swing for a hell of a lot more than 3. Alright? Moving on. So, it makes a mana of any color. That's where I would put priority on this. With that being said, though, I actually like Druid of the Cowl as a 2 mana dork. I'm not a fan of Drover the Mighty, so needs more 8/8 mammoths. I got you right. All right, so like that's just my thought on Drover the Mighty right there. Is if the reason you pick Drover is because sometimes it can be a 3 mana dude, then and you've got Llanowar Elf, Pluck a Worm. So rarely is it ever going to be a 3 mana dude. Alright, well with that in mind, Druid of the Cowl has 3 toughness, which blocks 90% of the mono white decks. Most of them are coming through with only 2 power at the beginning. They swing with a couple. You can stick a blocker in there, chump block a little bit, buy yourselves a little bit of time till you can get that Sarkhan's Unsealing down. Now, with Sarkhan's Unsealing, normally you want to, put emphasis on having 7 power, so that you can get those board wraps out. Galta's going to do that for you. Carnage Tyrant's going to do that for you. Now, with Galta, yes, Drover the Mighty can become a 3 power dude, which can help you get your Galta down a little bit quicker. But at that point, if you have a Drover the Mighty becoming, a 3 power dude, that means you've already either cast Carnage Tyrant or you have your 1-up Thrashing Brontodon down. Alright, that's the only... Am I mistaken? Oh, Ripjaw Raptor. Alright, so... I didn't see the Ripjaw Raptors. Ripjaw Raptor may change things. That may put a little bit more emphasis on Drover the Mighty. I'm still more on Druid of the Cowl. Just because he's always got 3 toughness. But whatever. I mean, that's it. Okay, so we just got dorks. We've got 4 Llanowar Elves and 3 Drover the Mighty. So we got 7 dorks that are not going to trigger Sarkhan's Unsealing, but they give us something early to do in the early game. Crawl Harpooner, not going to trigger Sarkhan's Unsealing, so but gives us that answer against board wipes, stuff of that nature, I guess. Perfect Turn 2 is going to be that Steel Leaf Champion off of your Llanowar Elf. But that's going to come down too early for a Sarkhan's Unsealing. You top deck one after a Sarkhan's Unsealing, then it's just gravy. You just cast it anyway, and it's great. You're clearly not all the way in on that because you're only running 3. It seems like you're kind of wanting to be this dinosaur deck, but you're kind of also wanting to be like the Sarkhan's Unsealing deck. So Sarkhan's Unsealing is making you put some emphasis on putting some other cards into this deck that either shouldn't be in the deck, or the fact that you're wanting to, you're so stuck on like, I need more things to make my Drover the Mighty bigger, that it's made you put other cards in the deck that you probably wouldn't be playing with in the first place. I really like Carnage. I really like Rekindling Phoenix and Ripjaw Raptor and Sarkhan's Unsealing decks. I really do. No, not Gigantosaur. No, Galta's better than Gigantosaur. Just for the love of God. They chump block it for days. Gigantosaur is just a 10-10. Doesn't even have trample. Right? Like, what's the point of having a big dude if it can't trample over? So, half Dino, quarter Sark, and quarter Mono Green Stompy. And that's going to be my consensus right there. Is Jack, that I think this deck's a little bit scattered. So okay, so it has trample with Goreclaw. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. You still got to produce 5 mana. I don't think Circuitous Route is worth anything in this deck. So does Hellion. Hellion triggers it so good, and after you swing with Hellion or block with Hellion, it goes back in the deck, so you can draw that daggum thing again. Like, I like Hellion. I don't like Circuitous Route in this deck at all. I get that you need some ramp. The only reason you need ramp is because like you're really trying to get onto some of these really big creatures. But I like Hellion better, and all the experience I have of playing the boo koodles of this damn card that you guys love. I'm not. You guys have loved Sarkhan's Unsealing. Like this has been a fan favorite card for quite some time, but I don't like the decks that it's forcing us to play. I think that next set there's probably going to be a really good Jun Unsealing deck. But as of right now, I like Rekindling Phoenix. I like Ripjaw Raptor in my Sarkhan's Unsealing decks. I don't mind Goreclaw. Goreclaw is not a bad card at all. He's actually really, really easy to play in some of the 3-color versions of these decks, because Goreclaw does exactly like he reduces mana. He only costs 1 green. He's easy to play. He adds trample. He gives the extra +1/+1. Like, he does all the things. So anyway, Goreclaw's fine. I don't mind Goreclaw. I don't mind Carnage Tyrant because Carnage Tyrant's great. Like, these are the cards you want to be playing, right? Other than that, you want to keep your converted mana cost as cheap as possible, because one of the things you're going to be doing is you're going to play like 1 spell per turn, and that's it. You're not playing a second spell. I'm almost done. You're going to... Stream's going a little long. Anyway, you're going to be playing 1 spell per turn, right? How are you going to beat Mono Blue? Right? Like, how do you beat Mono Blue? So, they cast something on turn 1 and 2, and then they stop everything. They can stop 1 spell per turn for the rest of eternity. They can stop 1 spell per turn, and the big way to beat Mono Blue is casting multiple spells per turn. I just don't think you ever get there with the Sarkhan's Unsealing deck that's so top-heavy. You might be able to go, okay, I'm going to land War Elves into a Crawl Harpooner or something like that, but Jack, you're never going to get Sarkhan's Unsealing down versus them. Doesn't matter if it's on the cast trigger. Turn 4, you're just not going to get it down. Like, they've got nothing to do on turn 4. Yeah. Remember when we ran Sunbirds and Unsealing? Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've got to run an Unsealing deck here very soon. So, just saying. Just saying. I've got Sunbird's Invocation in the sideboard of my Sarkhan's Unsealing deck. But, you know, mine's Naya. I think the deck's a little scattered. I think you need to decide whether you're a Dino deck or you're an Unsealing deck. I think that you're kind of a little all over the place. Some of this looks like you just may not have the cards. Like, why wouldn't you play more Rekindling Phoenixes? Unless you just didn't own them. And I understand that. If you just don't own them, you just don't own them. And something else needs to be in the spot. But you can cast a 7-powered creature for 4 mana. And I think if you're going to be in the colors and you're really a Sarkhan's Unsealing deck, I think you at least want an option of being able to cast that for that cheap price. Like, maybe you don't hit your 5th land. And when we look at the mana base, how many lands are in this deck? Creatures, 24 land. Oh, it's straight up. 15 forest. Ooh, 9 red sources. Alright, so to cast Rekindling Phoenix at all on turn 4, like to ever cast it on turn 4, you're going to need 16 red sources, right? Just to be able to cast a double red spell on turn 4. If you need to cast a double red spell on 3, you need 18. So, like, right off the bat, you just don't have enough red to actually be playing Rekindling Phoenix. With 9 red sources, you may not even be casting, like, any of your red spells fairly often. So that might put a little more emphasis on Drover the Mighty by itself, right? So probably if you don't like change the mana base or anything like that, you're probably going to want to keep Drover the Mighty. Like after I got to digging into the mana base a little bit more, yeah, Drover the Mighty is making a little bit more sense here. Galta's fine, but I just never had a real reason to play Galta. You've got a lot of cards that don't trigger Sarkhan's Unsealing, so heaven forbid you spent 4 mana on a spell that did nothing to the board, right? Nothing to the board. And then the next like 3 turns you did nothing but top deck like cards that won't trigger it, or cards that or just like lands or cards that just won't trigger it. So also, like, other than Sarkhan's Unsealing, the only removal you have is 2 Banefires and a Fight with Fire. So I'm a little bit on the fence about that as well. It's one of the things I learned playing, you know, the Sarkhan's Unsealing decks is a lot of times, you know, the decks that get down a little bit earlier than you, that get in a little bit faster than you, they're going to have so much damage done to you already that there's just not a lot you can do about it. So, granted, I get that I have just like ripped your deck apart here, and I'm going to apologize about that. That I'm being a little bit harsh on the deck. But all in all, it looks really scattered to me. We tuned a lot of these Naya and Jund Unsealing decks for Rush, who was paying for it. He wanted to see them. He wanted them tuned. He wanted them played, and you know, we still do that. Matter of fact, I got to get Cushy's deck out this week, but I wouldn't take this to F&M, man. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would. There's just nothing else I can say other than really decide what you want this deck to do. If this is a Sarkhan's Unsealing deck, then be all in on the fact that you're Sarkhan's Unsealing and give it hail. You know, be like Hellions, everything. If you're more of a Dinos deck, then maybe don't play enchantments that don't do shit. Like I don't know any other way to put it, but you know, there you go. Don't have your deck pro tip, don't have your deck red at end of stream, right? Well, think about your meta, what you'll be playing against in your meta, and like and then just think about, you know, how does your deck line up against their nut draw, right? And if they get even remotely close to their nut draw, how does your deck line up? And you know, if your deck, like, if your spells just don't line up, then no matter how powerful they are, they're not powerful enough, or not powerful enough at the given time. So even though Sarkhan's Unsealing is one of the most powerful enchantments we have in Standard right now, if it's, you know, in a deck that is built around, it still doesn't do anything on turn 4. And there's a lot of decks that swing for 23 on turn 4, that do something stupid like that can just do devastating things to you the turn that you just tapped out, placed an enchantment on the battlefield, and did nothing. Granted, turn 4 is not the turn that History of Benalia goes off. History of Benalia goes off on their turn 5. So, you know, that's a thing to think about. It may be worth it for you to have some Pirate's Pillage or something like that in the, not Pirate's Pillage, but some type of board wipe in the sideboard. Chaos Maul, something. So, I don't know. But just go back and think about it, and think about, you know, what are they trying to do? Like, what are the people at my local gaming store trying to do? My LGS, what are they going to be doing this Friday night? And when you start saying, okay, well, if this dude curves out, man, he's probably playing something like this card and this card and this card, and if all of those curve out, damn, I'm left at 4 life. He might just be able to burn me out from there. Fiery Cannonade, that was the card I was thinking about. Maybe you want some Fiery Cannonades, maybe you want Deafening Clarions or something like that. If you don't have the access to Deafening Clarions, then maybe it is Fiery Cannonade. Maybe that's the best you got. So, I don't know, just tailor your deck for your F&M. Because, like, I just, just improvise, adapt, and overcome. There you go. But yeah, just think about what they're going to be doing and your best ways to stop it, and that'll help you decide, you know, do I need to be more in on Sarkhan's Unsealing? Can I fall behind on turn 4 and catch up on turn 5? And if I am catching up on turn 5, what does that turn 5 look like? Does that turn 5 require me to hit my 5th mana? Or am I going to be able to do it with the 4 mana that I had on turn 4 if I don't top deck a 5th land? Like, that's the kind of thing that I would ask myself. Like, alright, if I know that I'm taking this turn 4 off, what does my turn 5 and 6 look like? Do I even survive that long? Like, what can I do? And that's one of the reasons I like Hellion in these decks, is because, you know, even if you don't top deck another land, if you could cast Sarkhan's Unsealing, you can cast a Hellion. So, no, we're not playing. We've been talking about Reddit decks for the past hour and a half. Yeah, Val's mad at me. But anyway, I gotta go. I had a lot of fun. I did. I know that I talked a lot of shit about some, right? Hellion with Goreclaw for 2 mana. Forget about it. That's pretty damn good, actually. 2 mana Hellion. I'll take it. Alright, so if you guys want to play any of the decks, you want to check anything out, manatraders has got all that covered. If you guys want to get in on Subscriber Sunday, I'm going to try to start doing this a little bit. We're not going to go as in-depth as we did tonight, but we're going to start doing a little bit more, you know, talking about your guys' decks and things like that. I'm gonna try to add that, you know, at least, you know, hey, let's pull up this deck at the end of stream. Yes, I'm gonna say no to a bunch of you. Like, a bunch of people are like, hey, will you pull up my deck? I'm gonna be like, no. Hey, will you pull up my... No. I'm gonna pull up this deck. Like, I don't know, like, but I'm not gonna be able to say yes to everyone, so I'm gonna say no to a bunch of people. So for those of you that have been here for the first night, like, just kind of understand, like, if the same person's asking me to pull up their deck every single night, I'm not pulling them up. Like, I'll pull it up for you, and then if you want your deck pulled up again the next night, and the next night, and the next night, I'm going to tell you to spend more time on a deck and come back at me with a deck that you built in more than 24 hours or something like that. So, yeah. So expect me to do something like this, or in smaller scales, towards the end of some of the streams, and you guys can give me the feedback in the comments and stuff. If you don't like this and you don't want to see this at the end of streams, then tell me to just shove off and don't worry about it. And then if you guys do like this and you want to see more of it, then we can do it. But all in all, it was a lot of fun. I try not to trash everyone's decks, but I'm entitled to my opinion, and certain strategies I just don't like. So, alright, everybody just go sling White Weenie, you'll be alright. Madness builds deck in like 10 minutes. Rush 2. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that build decks quickly. Hey, this looks like a good idea. Let's throw it together and throw it up on the Reddit and see what happens. Oh, it got 15 votes, and it was a half-assed idea. Well, hope it works. It happens. It happens. So, I'll throw that out there to you guys before you blindly vote. Look at the deck. Decide for yourself. You really want to see this shit played? Or would you like to see that other deck that looks like it had a lot of work put into it played? Right? Like, out of everything I've seen tonight, no offense to any of you guys, I would rather play that Abzan Value Town than any deck I've seen. That Abzan Value Town looked like that was a lot of work put into that deck. There's probably a lot of reasoning behind every single card in that deck. It was hard to look at that deck and try to pick it apart. And that's exactly what I should be doing. I should be trying to pick your decks apart. I should be trying to show you every bad aspect of your deck. And if you can show me a deck that I can't pick apart, then damn, we probably got a winner, boys. Like, no lie, that's probably what I should be doing. Like, it would probably be a better service to go, let's pick this thing apart. Let's find out everything bad about it. So, yeah. You like when the deck gets upvoted and has terrible mana? Oh, man. Talk about something pissing me off. Like, bad mana just sucks so bad. Oh, man. Bad mana is just bad. But all in all, I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys all had fun. We're going to see you next time. This is Thursday night, so we'll not be streaming tomorrow. And probably going to get something out for you guys Saturday, though. But, yeah. Like when we played No Land, Helm of Host, and Eric lost his mind. Yes, I lost my mind. Think I lost my mind there? You should see the league I ran for Rush with standard lands and modern. I lost my friggin' mind. Why don't I do like a streamer's pick every Sunday? So I thought about doing that. 2 upvoted decks and then the deck I want to see. Because the deck I want to see would be that one like that. Yeah. Maybe we'll start doing that. Maybe I'll do 2 upvoted decks and then I'll pick a deck. And we'll go from there. So, but either way, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun. We'll see you next time. Sideboard MTG.